Chapter 143. Currently, he only had one type of spirit item that was suitable for the 5-spirit immortal transformation art. It was the green flame on the top bud of the peach tree in the space of the spirit pearl. That was a wood attribute spirit fire. Furthermore, it could emit an aura that allowed spirit plants to evolve and had the effect of reviving them. In the book, Records of Beiyuan, written by the 5-element spiritual master, there was some information about spirit fires. The green spirit fire on the peach tree sapling belonged to the life spirit fire category of spirit fires. The so-called life spirit fire was a flame that some high-grade spirit plants used their own life force to condense. When a high-grade spirit plant suffered an injury that was difficult to heal and was on the verge of death, it would condense all its life force into the life spirit fire in an attempt to revive itself. However, spirit plants that could successfully condense the life spirit fire were already extremely rare. Those that could successfully revive the dead were even rarer in the world. Even if a spirit plant condensed the life spirit fire, if it could not be revived and the spirit tree died completely, the life spirit fire would also be extinguished. Once the spirit tree succeeded in reviving, the life spirit fire would gradually be converted into life force and absorbed. The life spirit fire could only be found on high-grade spirit trees that were reviving from the dead. Wang Daoyuan had also coincidentally arrived. That mystic realm should have been severely damaged, causing the core of the mystic realm, which was the peach tree, to be on the verge of death. The peach tree had successfully condensed the life spirit fire and was in the process of reviving. However, it was interrupted unknowingly by him. The peach tree sapling now was the product of that huge peach tree's revival. The situation of the peach tree sapling was very strange. He did not know if it was a success or a failure. If it was a failure, the peach tree sapling should have died long ago. However, it was clearly still alive. Although it was not growing, its spirit energy fluctuations were getting stronger. If it was a success, it should have converted the life spirit fire into life force and absorbed it again. However, not only did it not absorb the life spirit fire, it was even strengthening it continuously. Right now, the life spirit fire was already more than 3 inches tall. With Wang Daoyuan's knowledge, he truly could not determine what state the peach tree was in. The life spirit fire would continuously produce spirit chi that contained life force. This life force could help spirit plants evolve and even revive them from the dead. Of course, this resurrection was just a saying. At most, it could revive a spirit plant that was on the verge of death. Spirit plants that were truly dead couldn't be revived. For humans and demon beasts, the effect of the fire of life was not as strong as it was for spirit plants, but it still had a very good healing effect. Even though refining the essence of the flame of life and condensing a wood-attributed spiritual power seed didn't improve his fighting prowess, he was still able to do so. However, it would greatly increase their survivability. He didn't lack battle prowess at all. Among cultivators of the same level, there were very few who could fight him. In such a situation, increasing one's survivability might be more important. Spiritual items suitable for cultivating the 5-spirit immortal transformation art could only be found by chance. Now that there was one in his hands, how could he miss it? He didn't want to think too much about it. Instead, he condensed a ball of wood attribute spiritual energy and sent it into the spirit pearl space. His soul awareness also entered the spiritual pearl and controlled the cluster of spiritual energy to envelop a small part of the spiritual flame of life. The power of his divine sense instantly separated the spiritual fire in the spiritual power ball from the other parts. This part of the spiritual fire was still able to continue burning under the cover of the wood attribute spiritual power. The spiritual fire that was still attached to the top bud of the peach tree quickly recovered and was not affected. Then he took the spiritual power ball with the spiritual fire out of the spiritual pearl space. The 5-spirit immortal transformation art was of the same origin as the 5 elements immortal transformation art. He didn't need to spend much effort to change his cultivation and could directly cultivate the 5-spirit immortal transformation art. He circulated his cultivation technique and refined the essence of the spiritual fire. The essence of the spiritual fire was the special spiritual energy in the spiritual fire. After repeating this 5 or 6 times, Wang Daoyuan finally condensed a green spiritual power seed the size of a grain of rice in his dantian. After the spiritual power seed was formed, the moment he circulated his cultivation technique, the seed would absorb the wood attribute spiritual energy in his dantian. After refining it, it would release a purer spiritual energy. The spiritual power seed had just been formed and was still very weak. The second refining of spiritual energy was very slow and the refining effect wasn't strong enough. The refined spiritual energy was only slightly purer than the original spiritual energy and was far from the spiritual energy of cultivators with the wood attribute celestial spiritual roots. However, the refined spiritual energy had a weak vitality. When using this spiritual energy to cast healing spells, the healing effect would be much stronger. The spiritual power seed would slowly strengthen itself through the second refining of spiritual energy. In addition, continuing to refine the essence of the spiritual fire of life could also strengthen the spiritual power seed. Successfully condensing the spiritual power seed also meant that he had begun cultivating the first level of the 5-spirit immortal transformation art. After finishing his cultivation, Wang Daoyuan walked out of his cave residence, wanting to stroll around Jade's Spring Peak. However, just as he walked out of the gate, he received a message from the clan leader, ordering him to go to the assembly hall for an elders' meeting. When he arrived at the assembly hall, the clan leader Wang Jian said, "Since everyone is here, let's begin." Everyone knows about the attack on Iron Verdant Peak this time. Dao Yuan guessed that there were two possibilities. 1. The Liang clan was luring the tiger away from the mountain and continuing to target Jing Iron Mountain. 2. The Liang clan changed their target and wanted to target the Meng clan. These days, I sent people to inquire about the situation of the Yang and Meng clans. Indeed, as Dao Yuan guessed, both clans were attacked by rogue cultivators. Our Wang clan was attacked the least. Only Iron Verdant Peak was attacked. 3 of the Yang clan's properties were attacked, and 5 of the Meng clan's properties were attacked. Fortunately, the attackers were all Qi refinement rogue cultivators and didn't cause much damage. However, it's hard to say whether or not there will be Foundation establishment rogue cultivators later on. Although we were attacked the least, we still can't let down our guard. I'll rearrange the manpower to guard against rogue cultivators. The clan's southern area is large, far from Jade's Spring Peak, and close to the Liang clan, so I'll be personally responsible for it. The northern area is a mix of good and bad people. Although it's not far from Jade's Spring Peak, there are more properties there, so Shi will be responsible for it. The eastern area is close to Heaven/Mountain Range, and the clan doesn't have any properties there. Shui and I can take care of it. The western area has few properties, and it's not far from Jade's Spring Peak. It's also close to the Meng clan, so the Liang clan's goal is to not let us help the Meng clan. Therefore, they'll do their best to pin down our forces in other places. The possibility of causing trouble here isn't high, so Grand Elder can take care of it. No one had any objections, so he continued to ask, Shui is still overseeing Clear Glass Market. Should Dao Yuan go and replace him? Since they wanted to use properties to tie him down again, he pretended to be considerate of the clan and said, Clan leader, it's better to let third brother go. It's better for me to guard the clan's properties in the western area. Grand Elder is already so old, it's not good to let him worry about such a small matter. Third brother also needs more experience. After he became the clan's elder, he also knew some of the clan's secrets. For example, 12th Uncle Wang Shui had 2 spirit veins. His water spirit vein was 8 inches and 7 centimeters, not far from a heavenly spirit vein. Third brother Wang Daochang had a fire spirit vein that was 8 inches and 1 centimeter. Unfortunately, he had 3 spirit veins, which was much worse than Wang Shui. Heavenly spirit veins were rarely seen in hundreds of years. An 8-inch spirit vein could be considered a first-rate genius anywhere. Wang Daochang's main spirit vein was more than 8 inches, so his cultivation increased extremely quickly. 10 years ago, when he was just over 30 years old, he broke through to the peak of Qi condensation and became the second clan elder of the Dao generation. Wang Jian thought for a while and said, All right, since you're not willing to go to Clear Glass Market, then let Daochang go. He also needs experience. You've been out for nearly 20 years, so your experience and strength are enough. I'm very relieved to leave such a small matter to you. You're also not someone who can stay idle. If the Meng clan's properties are attacked, you can help, but don't take the initiative to find trouble with the Liang clan. The plan of our 3 clans is still to prioritize self-preservation. When old Liang dies, we'll find the Liang clan to settle the score. We can't force the Liang clan into a life and death struggle. Chapter 144. Wang Daoyuan naturally agreed. His priority now was to improve his alchemy skills, and he didn't want to cause any trouble. As long as nothing happened, he couldn't be bothered. After the clan leader finished setting up the defenses, he dismissed the meeting. He didn't leave Jade Spring Peak immediately, but went to the Tripitaka Tower. After condensing a wood attribute spirit seed, wood attribute spirit energy had vitality. It would be a pity not to learn a healing spell. He went to the Tripitaka Tower and took a jade slip from the 2nd floor. He went to the pine tree and handed it to his grandfather. Wang Jiza took the jade slip and unlocked the restrictions on it. He smiled. Why did you think of cultivating rejuvenation? I can see that you're cultivating a 5 elements cultivation method, but with your temperament, you should learn a few more offensive spells. Why are you learning healing spells? Wang Daoyuan replied, it's hard to avoid injuries when fighting outside. Taking a rejuvenation pill will slow my recovery. It's far inferior to rejuvenation. Since I'm cultivating a 5-element technique, it's better for me to learn healing spells. Wang Jiza nodded and handed the jade slip to him. That's good too. You're always fighting, so it's safer for you to learn healing spells. Rejuvenation is an inferior grade level 2 spell and requires 500 contribution points. Wang Daoyuan took the jade slip and used his consciousness to record its contents. He returned the jade slip to his grandfather and left. Wang Daoyin was almost 30 years old and had long gone out to do things. He and Wang Daoxing were sent to Mirror Iron Mountain to strengthen the defenses there. Wang Daoxing's strength was very close to the peak of qi refinement. It was only a matter of time before he became an elder of the clan. Wang Daoyin's cultivation speed had been stagnant due to his constitution. He was only at the 5th level of qi refinement now, and could only be considered below average among his peers. There were many people at Mirror Iron Mountain, and they had set up formations. Attacking Mirror Iron Mountain would cause great losses. If the Liang clan wanted to delay the Wang clan, they wouldn't put in much effort at Mirror Iron Mountain. Wang Daoyin's safety was guaranteed there. Wang Daoyuan was always outside and carried everything he needed with him. After exchanging for rejuvenation, he left Jade Spring Peak and headed west. The Wang clan only had 3 properties to the west of Jade Spring Peak. The 2 mines were located about 300 li northwest of Jade Spring Peak, not far from the southern foot of Mount Huiyan. In a forest, more than 400 kilometers southwest of Jade Spring Peak. These 3 industries were located at the edge of the Wang clan's territory, but the value of the spiritual items they produced wasn't high, and the cultivators guarding them were all at the mid-stage of qi refinement. Wang Daoyuan patrolled the 3 properties and gave each of the cultivators on guard 20 high-grade Tier 1 spirit talismans, and 2 low-grade Tier 2 spirit talismans, 1 for offense and 1 for defense. That way, when they were ambushed, they would have the ability to protect themselves until he came to their rescue. After he finished patrolling, he chose a place to stay. This place was called Black Iron Mountain. It used to be a small black iron mine. A few decades ago, the mine was dug out and this place was abandoned. There were also Immortal's caves left behind by the cultivators who had guarded the mine in the past. The Immortal's caves even had defensive restrictions. As long as spirit stones were used, the restrictions could still be used. It was fortunate that such an Immortal's cave was not far from Jade Spring Peak. Otherwise, it would have long been used as a lair by rogue cultivators. It just so happened that he could practice alchemy in this Immortal's cave. This place also had a big advantage. It was about the same distance from the 3 properties, less than 300 kilometers away. If any of the properties had problems, he could use a mid-grade Tier 2 Divine Travel Talisman and rush to the site of the accident in a little more than 15 minutes. When he arrived in front of the abandoned Immortal's cave, he released a clone and cleaned it up. If he wanted to refine pills in this immortal's cave, it would inevitably affect his control of the enemy's situation. He moved the small soul-chasing bees out of the spirit pearl's space and hung the beehive in the immortal's cave. When the soul-chasing bees went out to collect honey, they would also monitor the 3 properties. If there were cultivators loitering around the 3 properties, they would immediately report it. A mid-grade Tier 1 ordinary soul-chasing bee's flying speed was comparable to a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator's flying sword. Monitoring the properties more than 200 kilometers away couldn't be easier. After arranging the soul-chasing bees, Wang Daoist opened the Immortal's cave's restrictions and began refining pills. Ordinary alchemy techniques would inevitably consume a lot of spirit herbs essence when extracting them, which would directly affect the number of pills formed. If he could retain more spirit herbs essence, the number of pills formed would increase under the condition that his alchemy skills didn't change. According to the records in the Beiyuan records, using the life spirit fire to extract the spirit herbs essence could reduce the consumption of spirit herbs essence to the greatest extent. Therefore, using the life spirit fire to refine pills could increase the success rate. As for how much it would increase, it was hard to say. He used a wood attribute spirit energy ball to draw out a wisp of the life spirit fire and tried to ignite the spirit charcoal. Unfortunately, the life spirit fire didn't buy the spirit charcoal and couldn't ignite the spirit charcoal at all. He tried a variety of fuels until he changed the fuel to a freshly chopped spirit wood branch. Only then could the life spirit fire burn normally. Even so, it could only burn for a short time. Once the branch was burned into charcoal, the life spirit fire would be extinguished. The only thing that could keep the life spirit fire burning for a long time was his wood attribute spirit energy. He tried to use wood attribute spirit energy to support the burning of the spirit fire and extract the spirit herbs essence to refine 10 cauldrons of soul condensing pills. The refining effect was indeed good. The success rate increased by 5%, but the consumption also increased by a lot. Using the flame condensed from fire attribute spirit energy to ignite the spirit charcoal to refine pills, he could refine 3 cauldrons a day and didn't consume much spirit energy. Using the life spirit fire to refine pills, he could only refine 1 cauldron a day and consumed a lot of spirit energy and spirit energy. This refining method was only suitable to refine pills with scarce raw materials and extremely high value, such as the Foundation establishment pill. Using it to refine common goods like the soul condensing pill was too much of a loss. It was better to use the spirit charcoal fire to refine pills in the future. Wang Daoyuan's talent in talisman crafting was extremely high, but his talent in refining pills could only be considered above average. The reason why he could improve his refining skills to the 2nd rank middle grade in less than 20 years was because of the experience accumulated by his clone and a lot of practice. With the spirit herbs provided by the spirit bead space, when he was refining spirit gathering pills, he could refine 3 cauldrons a day and the spirit herbs could completely keep up. Refining more than 1,000 cauldrons of pills a year was completely impossible for most alchemists. After becoming a 2nd rank alchemist, the growth period of the 2nd rank spirit herbs was longer. The spirit herbs provided by the spirit bead space could only guarantee 1 cauldron every 3 days. However, he had accumulated a lot of spirit herbs before. Refining 2 or 3 cauldrons a day could still hold on for the time being. After half a year of hard work, he consumed more than half of the spirit herbs he had accumulated before, and the success rate of refining the soul condensing pill finally reached 60%. Generally speaking, when the success rate of refining the soul condensing pill reached 50%, one could try refining a 2nd rank upper grade pill. But among the 2nd rank upper grade pills, he only collected all the spirit herbs needed for the soul strengthening pill. The soul strengthening pill was a 2nd rank upper grade pill. It was more difficult to refine and was not much easier than the Foundation establishment pill. The spirit herbs needed were also more precious. Therefore, it was more cost-effective to use the soul condensing pill to practice. Chapter 145. Currently, Wang Daoyuan's success rate in refining the core condensing pill had already reached 60%. Even if he continued to practice, there was not much room for improvement. It was time to start refining the soul-strengthening pill. Refining the soul-strengthening pill required a total of 15 spirit herbs, 2 more than the foundation-building pill. The difficulty of fusing them was not small. The difficulty of refining the foundation-building pill was mainly that the medicinal properties of the 3 main ingredients were too strong. The difficulty of extracting the essence and fusing them was not what ordinary spirit herbs could compare to. Although the medicinal properties of the soul-strengthening pill's main ingredient were far inferior to the foundation-building pill, fusing the essence of 15 types of spirit herbs, the requirements for refining pills were not low. With his divine sense cultivation that far exceeded those of the same level and his solid foundation in refining pills, he could still handle it. Refining the 3rd cauldron of soul-strengthening pill, he successfully refined a pill. After that, he spent a few more days refining 10 cauldrons of soul-strengthening pills, with a success rate of 35%. With a success rate of more than 30%, he could be considered a Tier 2 high-grade pill refiner and had the qualifications to refine the foundation-building pill. In this half a year, the Liang family's little tricks had been unceasing. The Wang, Yang, and Meng families frequently encountered sneak attacks by rogue cultivators. 3 months ago, the Yang family caught a few rogue cultivators who came to sneak attack and reported to the Netherworld sect, using the Truth Talisman on the spot. Under the effect of the Truth Talisman, these rogue cultivators said that it was the Liang family who ordered them. However, Liang was a member of the Netherworld sect's foreign branch, and the foreign branch was strong. The battle between the Liang family and the Wang, Yang, and Meng families was a battle between the foreign branch and the family branch. In this battle, both sides could be said to be evenly matched. The 3 families were harassed until they were exhausted. The Liang family paid a huge price to buy off rogue cultivators, but they did not gain any advantage. Both sides exhausted their strength, and no one could gain an advantage. This was what the local branch was happy to see. The local branch sat on the mountain and watched the tigers fight. The family branch that Yang Yong was in was completely not a match for the foreign branch. The foreign branch used their strength to suppress this matter, forcefully explaining that there was insufficient evidence and that they could not conclude that it was the Liang family who ordered it. It was also possible that someone wanted to frame the Liang family. After this matter blew up, the incidence of rogue cultivators' sneak attacks decreased a lot. However, the good times did not last long. After only a month of peace, the territories of the 3 families became lively again. In these 2 months, the Wang family's territory suffered more than a dozen sneak attacks. Most of the areas that had been attacked were in the southeast and north of Jade Spring Peak. The western area that Wang Daoyuan was in charge of had not been attacked. The Wang family had long since made preparations. They had distributed level 2 spirit talismans to the guards of the various industries, so there were no casualties. On the contrary, it was the rogue cultivators who ambushed the Wang family's businesses that suffered heavy losses every time. On this day, Wang Daoyuan was refining pills in his cave. The soul-chasing bee suddenly sent a signal saying that there was an abnormal situation in a mine northwest of the Jade Spring Peak. This mine produced grade 1 cinnabar, unlike the Wang family's mine that occasionally produced grade 2 cinnabar. The quality of the cinnabar produced by this cinnabar mine was average and the scale was small, so the clan had never placed much importance on it. According to the report of the soul-chasing bees, a few suspicious characters had appeared near the cinnabar mine and had been circling around it. They were well hidden, and the clansmen guarding the cinnabar mine did not discover them. However, while they could hide from the cultivators of their families, they could not hide from the soul-chasing bees. Since they knew that they were here to scout, it meant that they were not raw melon eggs. They were probably repeat offenders who often did this kind of work. If a few people had come just to scout, there would definitely be a lot of them when the actual battle began. Wang Daoyuan had not fought for half a year, so he could use this group of people to exercise his muscles. Based on the principle of being lenient to the enemy, he still sent a message to his grandfather, telling him to make preparations. If the other party had a foundation establishment cultivator and he could not hold on, his grandfather would be able to quickly come to his aid when he sent out a distress signal. After sending the message to his grandfather, he tidied up his cave and headed for the cinnabar mine. After arriving at the cinnabar mine, he did not immediately reveal himself. Instead, he hid nearby and observed the background of this group of people. Using would escape, he hid in a large tree and observed the situation in secret. Before long, 5 rogue cultivators appeared in his field of vision. These 5 people were all at Qi refinement level 5 or 6. Dressed as rogue cultivators, they were rather ordinary. The only abnormality was that their hair and beards were all red. Upon closer inspection, one could even see that their beards and hair were mostly red and the roots were black. Their beards and hair were dyed red. The cultivation world did not have the habit of dyeing their hair. In the area of Mount Huiyan, there was only one power that dyed their hair red, the Red Beard Bandits. The leaders of the Red Beard Bandits were a pair of twin brothers who were born in the northern area of Mount Huiyan. These 2 brothers were said to have demonic bloodlines and were born with red hair. When they reached adulthood, even their beards were fiery red. They were very talented in cultivation and reached the middle stage of foundation establishment before the age of 70. Their current cultivation level was uncertain. Some said they were still at the middle stage of foundation establishment, some said they were at foundation establishment level 9, and some said they had already broken through to the Zifu realm. Perhaps these 2 brothers really did have demonic bloodlines and were bloodthirsty. No matter where they were in the mountain, there was no place for them. The 2 of them recruited rogue cultivators and formed a power that specialized in robbery. Because the 2 brothers had red hair and beards, people called the power they formed the Red Beard Bandits. Unexpectedly, this group of people liked this name and had a habit of dyeing their hair and beards red. The Red Beard Bandits hid in Mount Huiyan and were generally active in the northern part of the mountain. They were wanted by the various powers in the northern part of the mountain. About 100 years ago, they stretched their hands to the south of Mount Huiyan and caused many massacres. Afterward, the underworld sect beat them up several times and even issued a warrant for their arrest. For the past 100 years, the Red Beard Bandits had not dared to cause trouble in the southern part of the mountain. Wang Daoyuan was unsure if these people were hired by the Liang clan or if they saw that the area was chaotic and wanted to fish in troubled waters. No matter what the situation was, this was not a small matter. He immediately sent a letter to the clan and reported the situation at the cinnabar mine to the clan leader. 5 Red Beard Bandits left the cinnabar mine with Wang Daoyuan following them in secret. This matter was rather troublesome. The Red Beard Bandits had been causing trouble in the northern part of the mountain for more than 100 years. Even the underworld sect's warrant for their arrest failed to eliminate them. Once they fought and killed a few Red Beard Bandits, they would bear a grudge and the Wang clan would be in danger. These people did not care about the rule that cultivators were not allowed to kill mortals. If they bore a grudge, the Wang clan would not only have to protect the clan's property, but also the ordinary clansmen. If the 2 leaders of the Red Beard Bandits had really established the Violet Palace, the Wang clan would be in danger of being exterminated. To prevent the Red Beard Bandits from taking revenge on the Wang clan, Wang Daoyuan changed into the Liang clan's green Daoist robe. It was even embroidered with the Liang clan's emblem, Blue Cloud Peak. Back then, the Liang clan's cultivators injured Blackie in Qingxi village and were forced to hand over their storage pouches after being subdued. This Liang clan's Daoist robe was stolen at that time. This robe did not take up much space, so he placed it in the thatched hut in the Spirit Pearl's space along with the storage pouches. He did not expect it to come in handy now. To prevent being recognized, he used a disguise technique and changed his appearance to resemble Liang Zilong. Wearing the Liang clan's robe and outside the Wang clan's territory, any conflict with the Red Beard Bandits would be blamed on the Liang clan first. When the Red Beard Bandits killed, they did not care if the victim was innocent or not. They would kill first and see if they killed the right person. If they killed the wrong person, they would move on to another clan. As long as they saw that their opponent might be from the Liang clan, their first target would be the Liang clan. If the Red Beard Bandits were causing trouble in the Underworld sect's territory, the Underworld sect would quickly send people to eliminate them. By then, no one would have the time to investigate whether the Liang clan had killed the Red Beard Bandits. Chapter 146. Wang Daoyuan followed the 5 Redbeard bandits and walked towards the northwest for over 200 li before entering Mount Huiyan. Finally, the 5 of them arrived at a small valley. He used the earth escape technique and followed them from a distance. There were 30 to 40 people in the valley. The weakest of them was at the middle stage of Qi Disciple, while the strongest were 3 at the peak stage of Qi Disciple. The 5 scouting cultivators arrived at the valley and reported the situation to the 3 peak stage Qi Disciple cultivators. Wang Daoyuan moved to a distance of 10 zhang away from them and hid under the ground. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, he did not dare to release his spiritual sense and could only rely on his ears to listen. He only heard one person ask, "What's the situation with the mine?" Another person replied, "When we return, there's only one middle stage Qi Disciple cultivator guarding the mine. We just don't know which family's property it is." The person who asked the question sneered, "The clans of Shannon have been causing a ruckus recently. The first master and second master have us brothers come here to fish in troubled waters. We don't care whose property it is. We'll rob whatever we see and kill whoever we see. After robbing for 10 days to half a month, we'll quickly run. The 2 masters have said that whoever gets the most loot will get to keep it. Whoever gets the most loot will be heavily rewarded by the masters." The group of people became excited and let out strange cries. Hearing their words, Wang Daoyuan's killing intent was set. If these Redbeard bandits were only here to rob the mine, then it wouldn't matter. He could withdraw his people and let them rob as they liked. A low-grade cinnabar mine was only worth a few spirit stones. It was not worth it to start a war with the Redbeard bandits for it. However, if they wanted to rob nearby for 10 days to half a month, it would be enough for them to wreak havoc in all the territories to the west of Jade Spring Peak. There were many ordinary clansmen nearby. How could he allow them to wreak havoc? If he pretended to be a Liang clansman and only wore a Daoist robe, it would be too obvious. If he wanted to put on a show, he had to put on the Liang clan's clothes and disguise himself as a Liang clansman. He also had to use methods similar to the Liang clan's inheritance. The Liang clan's ancestor was a loose cultivator. He mainly cultivated wood attribute techniques and had a variety of techniques. He had learned quite a bit of controlling plants, refining corpses, and poisoning. Wang Daoyuan hadn't dabbled in the path of refining corpses, but controlling plants and poisoning were still very simple. When he was in the Green Willow State, he would go into the mountains to search for spirit items. He would often find some valuable spirit plants that he could not use for the time being. He had collected some seeds of these spiritual plants for future use. Now they could finally be put to good use. Using would attribute spiritual energy to stimulate the growth of spirit plant seeds and relying on spirit plants to defend against enemies was a common tactic used by would attribute cultivators. Not all spirit plants could use spirit energy to defend against enemies. Only a few could. He just so happened to have a spirit plant that was especially suitable for defending against enemies, called the sawtooth vine. The leaves of the sawtooth vine were serrated and did not have a leaf stalk. The leaves were directly attached to the vines, and each vine seemed to have grown a few hacksaws. The leaves were extremely hard and the edges were very sharp. Once a human cultivator was bound by the sawtooth vines, without the protection of a defensive magic artifact, they would definitely be covered in wounds. Furthermore, the sawtooth vines were poisonous and could make people feel weak all over. He used the earth escape technique and buried the seeds of the sawtooth vine near this group of people. When he was burying the seeds, he discovered that on the west side of the valley, about 100 zhang away from the group, there were 2 people. These 2 people were only at the initial stage of Qi Disciple. They seemed to be preparing food. Wang Daoyuan laughed in his heart. "I was just worrying about how to leave them alive. Here they are." Normal peak stage Qi Disciple cultivators can't use their spiritual sense to detect more than 100 zhang away. It wouldn't be suspicious if I let them go. Directly killing everyone was not advisable. The Redbeard bandits had come for revenge, but without a target, they would kill indiscriminately. The Wang family would be the first to bear the brunt. After burying the seeds of the sawtooth vine, he used the rank 1 wood attribute spell, entanglement technique. The seeds buried underground encountered the wood attribute spiritual energy with vitality and quickly grew. This group of red-beard bandits was still laughing when they were suddenly tied up. They were completely unprepared. The sawtooth vine was not to be trifled with. It instantly cut through their skin. The group of people struggled a few times before collapsing powerlessly. They wanted to retaliate but had no strength. They could only curse loudly. Wang Daoist sneered, reckless red-beard bandits, daring to extend their claws to the southern part of the mountain. He used the wood thorn technique to kill this group of people one by one. Then he used the fireball talisman to burn the corpses and the sawtooth vine, destroying all traces. After burning them, he used the immaculate technique several times to clean up all the ashes. The two initial stage Qi disciple cultivators had long been scared out of their wits. They used the earth escape talisman to escape. Wang Daoist walked over and cleaned up all traces of their food preparation. There were witnesses who had escaped, so there was no need to leave any traces. The more carefully he cleaned up the traces, the less likely it was that someone had framed him. In order to prevent others from seeing him, he did not directly return to Jade Spring Peak after leaving the valley. Instead, he went straight south. He changed into a loose cultivator's outfit and followed the border of the Meng family's territory south. He arrived at Clear Glass Market and returned to Jade Spring Peak. This matter concerned the survival of the family, so he could not be careless. He called the family head, 12th uncle and 9th uncle together and told them about this matter. The three of them agreed with his decision. There was no good way to deal with this matter, and they could not report it to the underworld sect. Otherwise, it would be easy for others to link the killing of the Red-Beard bandits to the Wang family. Although there was no evidence, the Red-Beard bandits had never considered evidence. The Wang family adjusted the focus of their defense. Wang Shui was in charge of the south, while the family head was in charge of the north. The focus was on the northwest. Taigong continued to oversee Jade Spring Peak, supporting the northwest at any time. The others were completely unaware of this matter, so there were no changes to the defense arrangements. Wang Daoist was also forced to stay at Jade Spring Peak to avoid being killed by the Red-Beard bandits. After all, the leader of the Red-Beard bandits might be a Zifu disciple. If he ran into him, he would be killed instantly. He would not just wait. He released the golden-winged goshawk to patrol the western part of Jade Spring Peak. The reason why he did not release the soul-chasing bees was mainly because they needed to be close to the enemy to scout. If the leader of the Red-Beard bandits was a Zifu disciple, the soul-chasing bees would not be able to escape his spiritual sense. However, the golden-winged goshawk was different. It could fly high in the sky and see the situation 200 to 300 kilometers away. It only needed to fly less than 100 kilometers west of Jade Spring Peak to have a panoramic view of the western part of the Wang family's territory. Even a Zifu disciple would not be able to clearly see an eagle with a wingspan of less than 3 meters from 200 to 300 kilometers away. Their spiritual sense would not be able to reach that far. 3 days later, the golden-winged goshawk reported that it had discovered 200 people 500 kilometers west of Jade Spring Peak. They were heading southeast. This group of people did not attack the properties of the Wang and Meng clans. Instead, they headed southeast along the border between the Wang and Meng clans. The southeast was the territory of the Liang clan. Wang Daoist led the golden-winged goshawk and immediately reported the situation to the family head. When they arrived at the family head's residence, Wang Jian saw the golden-winged goshawk perched on his shoulder and asked, "When did you get such a good thing?" Wang Daoist hurriedly said, "Don't worry about it. I just released it and had it monitor the situation in the western part of the Wang family's territory. It reported that 200 people came out of Mount Huiyan and headed southeast along the border between our Wang and Meng clans." Chapter 147. Wang Jian smiled. They're going to take revenge on the Liang clan. According to the Netherworld sect's rules, if a hostile force attacks a subordinate force of the Netherworld sect, the nearby clans have to help. We won't get involved in this matter. Shui and I will go to the northeast corner of the clan for a stroll. We can find an excuse to go later. You and Grand Elder will stay at Jade Spring Peak and pretend you don't know about the Red-Beard bandits. When Elder Zhou of Clear Glass Market brings reinforcements to the Liang clan, or when the Redbeard bandits make a move against our Wang clan, inform me. After Wang Daoyuan agreed, Wang Jian directly rode his sword towards the northeast. He told Taigong and ninth granduncle about this matter, then returned to his cave. He released Jin Yi and continued to monitor the Redbeard bandits' movements. He had nothing to do, so he watered the spirit plants in front of his cave. When he was 16, he got seeds from 12th uncle and casually scattered them around his cave. He ignored them for more than 20 years. He had to constantly monitor the Redbeard bandits' movements. He couldn't cultivate, concoct pills, or craft talismans. He could only find other things to do. Jin Yi was extremely busy. He flew in and out continuously, monitoring the Redbeard bandits' movements and reporting back to Wang Daoyuan. Yun Yi also wanted to come out and have some fun. Unfortunately, his 5 to 6 meter long fat body was too easy to discover. In addition, his eyesight and flying speed were far inferior to Jin Yi's. He really wasn't suitable for this job. 8 hours later, Jin Yi reported that the Redbeard bandits had wiped out the Liang clan's properties west of Clear Glass River. They began to cross Clear Glass River and attack the Liang clan's core properties. The Liang clan's ancestor, Liang, wasn't at Clear Cloud Peak. Only Foundation establishment cultivators were there. Once the Redbeard bandits crossed the river, 6 Foundation establishment cultivators of the Liang clan flew out from Clear Cloud Peak to stop them. 5 Foundation establishment cultivators also flew out from the Redbeard bandits' troops to pin down the Liang clan's Foundation establishment cultivators. Jin Yi only knew that those who could fly were stronger than him. He couldn't determine the battle situation from 200 to 300 miles away. Wang Daoyuan was rather surprised. Rumor had it that the Redbeard bandits only had 2 Foundation establishment cultivators, but 5 of them suddenly appeared. However, the 2 leaders of the Crimson Beard bandits shouldn't be in the Violet Palace realm. Otherwise, the Liang clan would be guarding Blue Cloud Peak to the death instead of coming out to fight. After another 2 hours, Jin Yi reported that a few people had flown over from the south to help the Liang family fight the Redbeard bandits. Wang Daoyuan immediately sent a message to the patriarch. The cultivators of the Netherworld sect in Clear Glass City had made their move. Not long after, the Great Elder received a message from Elder Zhou, ordering the Wang family to send people to surround and annihilate the Redbeard bandits. Otherwise, he would be charged with collusion with the enemy. After receiving the letter, the Wang clan naturally didn't dare to be negligent. Grandfather Wang Daoyuan rode on his sword and rushed towards the battlefield. However, his flying speed was a little slow, even slower than Wang Daoyuan when he used a low-grade Grade 2 Divine Travel Talisman. At this rate, they might not even be able to reach the battlefield in 4 hours. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to be negligent. He immediately summoned the dozen or so late-stage Qi refinement disciples who had stayed at Jade Spring Peak and rushed to the battlefield on the spirit ship. As the spirit ship flowed down the river, its speed wasn't too bad. There was no need to waste any spiritual power to drive it. It would take about a day to reach the battlefield. The disciples on the ship chatted and laughed as if they were celebrating the new year. As the patriarch of the Wang clan, Wang Daoyuan naturally had to be more serious. He held back his laughter and reprimanded with a straight face, "Be more serious. We're going to support the Liang family, not to celebrate." After the spirit ship traveled 20 to 30 kilometers, the patriarch and the 12th uncle flew over on their swords. The 12th uncle even lowered his altitude to greet the people on the spirit ship. However, the 2 of them were flying at an extremely slow speed. They weren't even as fast as Wang Daoyuan's cloud mist escape. 4 hours later, the spirit ship was already 100 kilometers away from Jade Spring Peak. Grandfather Wang Jiza sent a message saying that he had already rushed to the battlefield. The Redbeard bandits were about to escape, so he asked Wang Daoyuan to bring the Wang clan disciples over as quickly as possible. Wang Daoyuan had been waiting for this news. He immediately shouted, "Full speed ahead. The Redbeard bandits are about to escape." The Wang clan members took turns to drive the spirit ship. In 2 hours, they had traveled more than 150 kilometers. At this moment, Grandfather Wang Jizi sent a message saying that the Red-Beard bandits had already started to escape in the northwest direction. Wang Daoyuan naturally understood what this meant. He ordered the Wang clan disciples on the spirit ship to go ashore. Then he leisurely rushed towards the west. Not long after, he saw more than 10 foundation-building cultivators fighting a great battle about 20 or so kilometers ahead. The 5 foundation-building cultivators had red beards and red hair. Among them, 2 of them had beards and hair that were like raging flames. They should be the 2 leaders of the legendary Red-Beard bandits. These 2 people were both at the peak stage of the foundation-building realm. Working together, they were able to resist 6 foundation-building cultivators from the Liang clan. The foundation-building cultivators who came from Clear Glass Market as reinforcements, as well as those from the surrounding clans who came to help, didn't put in any effort. They rode on their flying swords and watched the show from the sky. After half a day, they would throw out spells as a show of strength. The other 3 foundation-building cultivators from the Red-Beard bandits were able to block more than 10 foundation-building cultivators. Even they themselves didn't dare to believe it. Wang Daoyuan still wanted to watch the show, but one of the Clear Glass Market's foundation-building cultivators ordered, aura-refining cultivators, chase after the fleeing Red-Beard bandits. He cupped his fists and said, "Understood." Then he led more than 10 of his clansmen. Using the standard speed of a late-stage aura-refining cultivator, they chased in the northwest direction in an orderly manner. On the way, they even met aura-refining cultivators from other clans. Everyone greeted each other cordially and slowly chased after the Red-Beard bandits. After a day of great battle, the Red-Beard bandits lost more than 30 aura-refining cultivators. Moreover, all of them were killed by the Liang clan's foundation-building cultivators. The clans that came to help all killed 0 enemies and suffered 0 casualties. Of the 5 foundation-building cultivators, 1 survived. 3 were heavily injured and 2 were lightly injured. The Red-Beard bandits didn't suffer heavy losses. Furthermore, they managed to steal quite a lot of good stuff. The foundation-building cultivators from other clans who came to help held back their laughter and consoled the Liang clan's patriarch. Afterwards, they all returned to their clans, ending this relaxed and joyful battle. In this battle, the Liang clan lost 7 or 8 of their properties. More than 10 aura-refining cultivators died in battle. Originally, they had less than 100 cultivators. This time, they lost almost 1/5 of their clansmen. The Liang clan didn't have many mortals. Most of them lived near Clear Sky Peak, so they weren't hit by the shockwaves. The 6 foundation-building cultivators were all injured. 3 of them were heavily injured. The one with the most serious injury might not be able to improve his cultivation anymore. According to the Red-Beard bandits captured by the Liang clan, they wanted to take advantage of the chaos in the north of Clear Li County. In the end, dozens of people in the vanguard were killed by cultivators suspected to be from the Liang clan. Only 2 chefs escaped. The 5 heads of the clans brought their elite subordinates to take revenge. Knowing that the Red-Beard bandits were caused by the chaos of the clans, the Netherworld sect naturally couldn't sit by and do nothing. The Netherworld sect issued an order. If itinerant cultivators dared to attack the properties of their clans again, they would be pursued to the end. Once the order was issued, the territories of the Wang, Yang, and Meng clans were finally peaceful. The Meng clan became the biggest beneficiary. During this period of time, the Yang clan dealt with the itinerant cultivators' sneak attacks very easily. The Wang clan also handled it with ease. Only the Meng clan was in dire straits and suffered many losses. The Meng clan's grand elder Meng Qingshan didn't have many years left to live. If this continued, the Meng clan might really collapse. After that, the Netherworld sect gave the Liang clan another blow. In order to boost morale, the Netherworld sect wantonly announced that the Liang clan's cultivators had killed the vanguard of the Red-Beard bandits. They even gave the Liang clan a lot of rewards. The Liang clan was also stunned. They didn't even know who did it, but they were recognized as heroes. How was this a reward? It was clearly a basin of sh*T that was forcefully placed on their heads. The Netherworld sect recognized that the Liang clan had killed dozens of Red-Beard bandits. They couldn't deny it even if they wanted to. In the future, the Red-Beard bandits would be at odds with the Liang clan. If they didn't destroy the Liang clan, where would the Red-Beard bandits put their face? Wang Daoyuan was also relieved. No one would investigate the matter of him impersonating a Liang clan cultivator and killing the Red-Beard bandits. What did the Liang clan killing the Red-Beard bandits have to do with Wang Daoyuan? Chapter 148. This time, the Red-Beard bandits left Mount Huiyin and went deep into Qingli County. If they had attacked other families, the surrounding families could have helped and killed all of the Red-Beard bandits. Since the Liang family was the one being attacked, everyone would just watch the show. Who would be so bored as to fight with the Red-Beard bandits? After the battle, the northern part of Qingli County was peaceful. Previously, the wandering cultivators had been bribed by the Liang family to attack the properties of the Wang, Yang, and Meng families, resulting in many casualties. Especially those fugitives, they fought the most fiercely and suffered the most casualties. Now, even the fighting between the wandering cultivators had decreased. In the following days, Wang Daoyuan did not run around. He stayed at Jade Spring Peak to refine pills and make talismans. Raising his alchemy skills as much as possible was the most important thing. After 7 years of peace, the true essence fruit in the space of the spirit pearl finally matured. The 7 first-generation blood jade ginseng could have been harvested half a year ago. He first informed Granduncle Jiao and the patriarch that he would be in seclusion for a long time. Before he came out, they should not look for him even if something big happened. Although Granduncle Jiao and the patriarch did not understand what was going on, they agreed when they saw how serious he was. He activated all of the cave abode's defensive restrictions and set up a soundproof array formation. Then, he began the preparations for refining the foundation establishment pill. Currently, his success rate of refining the soul-strengthening pill had reached 50%. This was almost the limit of a chi refinement cultivator. However, he had the spiritual fire of life, so he could still increase the success rate. For the next 10 days, he used the spiritual fire of life to refine a cauldron of soul-strengthening pills every day to get used to this method. On the 11th day, he adjusted his mental state to its peak and went through all the steps of refining the foundation establishment pill in his mind. When he could not find any mistakes, he officially started refining the foundation establishment pill. He drew out a wisp of the spiritual fire of life from the space of the spirit pearl and used wood attribute spiritual energy to burn it. He took out a fresh snow Ganoderma and used the spiritual fire of life to refine its essence before refining the next spirit herb. Soon, all the supplementary herbs were refined without any problems. After all, the supplementary herbs for the foundation establishment pill were very common among second-grade spirit herbs. There was not much difficulty in refining them. Next up was the refinement of the 3 main ingredients. The dragon crouching vine was only 200 years old, which meant that it was slightly more poisonous. He had to be careful, but the refinement wasn't too difficult. Next was the most challenging blood jade ginseng and genuine fruit. These 2 500-year-old spiritual herbs were known for their abundant spiritual energy and strong medicinal efficacy. He first extracted the essence of the blood jade ginseng. Although he was mentally prepared and increased the input of his spiritual sense, he still almost made a mistake. There was too much blood jade ginseng essence, and its spiritual energy was especially unstable. It almost couldn't suppress it, causing the essence to dissipate. It would be a waste of a blood jade ginseng. Fortunately, his divine sense cultivation was high enough. He increased the input of his divine sense in time and saved the blood jade ginseng. With this experience, the extraction of the true essence fruit was safe and sound. The essence of spiritual herbs was extremely unstable. Once it was extracted, it would continuously dissipate. Even if one used a special artifact to prevent it from dissipating, it would not be able to stop it. He had to constantly suppress it with his divine sense to reduce its dissipation. He also had to start fusing it as soon as possible. This was also one of the important reasons why the more types of spirit herbs one needed to refine a pill, the more difficult it was to refine. Another important reason was to fuse the essence of the spirit herbs. To refine the building foundation Dan, the power of divine sense needed to suppress 13 groups of spirit herb essences at the same time. No wonder the alchemist's divine sense cultivation was not low. 13 kinds of spirit herbs, all extracted, and the next was the most difficult fusion. First fuse the auxiliary herbs, then fuse the main herbs, so that if the auxiliary herbs failed to fuse, the essence of the main herbs could still be retained. Wang Daoist was not low among the second-tier upper-grade alchemists. It was not difficult to fuse the auxiliary herbs and the essence of the crouching dragon vine. After that, it was to fuse the essence of the red blood ginseng. A small group of blood-red spirit herb essence was fused into a large group of colorful spirit herb essence. After the fusion, the spirit herb essence trembled. Under the suppression of his divine sense, it stabilized, and the whole group of spirit herb essence was dyed blood red. Finally, it was to integrate the essence of the true essence fruit, which was very smooth. All the spirit herb essences were fused, and he used the power of divine sense to mix the various spirit herb essences evenly. In the process of mixing, there was suddenly a violent spiritual power fluctuation inside the spirit herb essences. This was going to explode. He suppressed it with all his strength, but he couldn't control it. In the end, he had to transfer the spirit herb essences out of the alchemy furnace. Otherwise, the alchemy furnace would directly shatter. The spirit herb essences exploded in the Immortal's cave. Fortunately, the defensive restrictions were still good, and the aftermath of the explosion was suppressed. Otherwise, with so much spiritual power, it was enough to blow a hole in the Immortal's cave. The first refining failed, and the consumption of divine sense and spiritual power was great. He couldn't continue today. The key was that all the previous steps had no problems, but he still failed. If he couldn't find the reason and continued refining, the result would be the same. There was absolutely no problem with the auxiliary herbs. They were all just right and they had just been dug out of the soil. There was no problem with the true essence fruit. After this thing matured, its medicinal properties would no longer increase. The fruit tree had not evolved to the third tier, so there should be no problem with its medicinal properties. The remaining two were the crouching dragon vine and the blood jade ginseng. The crouching dragon vine was also exactly 200 years old, but it had been picked for a long time, and it was placed in the space of the spirit bead. The blood jade ginseng was more than 500 years old. Although it wasn't much, its medicinal properties had more or less increased. Moreover, it had just been dug out and was still very fresh. In addition, it had been extracted with the life spirit fire, so its medicinal properties had been retained too much. Thinking of this, he could be sure that the medicinal effects of the crouching dragon vine and the blood jade ginseng were unbalanced. After resting for a night, he began refining again. This time, he increased the amount of the crouching dragon vine. During the fusion, he reduced some of the blood jade ginseng's essence. There were no problems with the extraction and fusion. After the fusion of the spirit herb essences was completed, he used the power of divine sense to divide them into 10 equal portions. Each portion was the size of an adult's fist. Next was the pill formation step. He used a large fire to continuously roast the pill furnace, evaporating all the water in the spirit herb essences, and condensing the remaining portion into a solid. The fist-sized spirit herb essences gradually shrank. The control of the fire directly determined the success rate of the pill formation. If the fire was too strong, it would directly burn the spirit herb essences. If the fire was insufficient, the time taken to roast the pill would be too long, and the spirit herb essences would lose too much. Part of the medicinal properties would change, causing the spirit herb essences to clash again and explode. Fortunately, his divine sense was strong enough, and controlling the fire was not a problem. There were no obvious mistakes. In the end, he refined a Longan-sized foundation establishment pill. Different spirit herb essences were in different positions in the pill furnace, so the heat they received was also different. If the heat was just right, he would succeed. If the heat was off, he would fail. He learned from his experience and adjusted the positions of the 10 spirit herb essences, as well as the strength of the fire. The third furnace produced 2 foundation establishment pills. It was the same for the fourth and fifth furnaces. After that, practice made perfect, and the success rate of the pill formation increased slightly. The sixth furnace produced 3 pills, and the seventh furnace produced 4 pills. The 7 500-year-old blood jade ginseng were all used up, and 14 pills were produced. Because he was unfamiliar with it, the success rate was only 20%. However, this did not matter. 14 foundation establishment pills were enough for him to build his foundation. Failing to build his foundation would at most damage his meridians and dantian. With the protection of the foundation establishment pills, he could try again after a few months of recuperation. Chapter 149. There were still 2 true origin fruits hanging on the true origin fruit tree, but without scarlet blood ginseng, he couldn't refine more foundation-building pills. If he didn't pick them, they would slowly rot. Wang Daoist took out 2 second-tier magic tool jade boxes, picked the true origin fruits, and put them inside to reduce the loss of medicinal properties and spiritual power. Now that he had finished preparing the foundation-building pills, the next step was to prepare for foundation building. Foundation building was very dangerous. Cultivators with better conditions would find cultivators with higher cultivation levels to protect them. Once something went wrong, they would be able to remedy it in time. Although he had made sufficient preparations and his chances of success were very high, it was still better to have someone to protect him. His clan had 3 foundation-building cultivators, so he naturally had to make arrangements for them. He adjusted his state and changed his clothes to avoid the smell of foundation-building pills, which would be hard to explain. Wang Daoist arrived at the clan leader's Immortal's cave. Seeing him, the clan leader asked, "You're done with your closed-door meditation? How was your harvest?" He answered with a smile, "My harvest was great. I came here this time to build my foundation, so I'm asking the clan leader to protect me." The clan leader asked in surprise, "Are you sure?" He nodded and said, "I've made sufficient preparations." The clan leader muttered to himself for a moment, then said, "You've always had your own opinions. Since you feel there's no problem, I won't ask anymore. Wait a moment, I'll go get something for you." After saying that, the clan leader went to the scripture tower and said a few words to Taigong, then the 2 of them entered the ancestral temple together. After a quarter of an hour, the 2 of them walked out of the ancestral temple and walked towards him. The clan leader handed him a bottle of medicinal pills and said, "This is a meridian shielding pill. Take one before you build your foundation. Although it can't increase your chances of success, it can still increase your chances of survival. Foundation building pills are hard to come by, and the clan doesn't have any, so we can only help you this much. Whether you succeed or not is another matter, you must protect your life." Wang Daoist took the medicinal pill and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I'll definitely be fine." Although meridian shielding pills were far less valuable than foundation building pills, their effect of strengthening the meridians was indeed not weak. Not only could they be used in foundation building, but they also often used secret techniques that could harm the meridians when Zifu realm cultivators broke through realms. The meridian shielding pill was a tier 3 medicinal pill. Wang Daoist didn't have the ability to refine it now, and it was also rare on the market. He didn't return to his own cave residence. Instead, he built his foundation in the Patriarch's cave residence, where the concentration of spirit chi was higher. After entering the cave, he did not activate the defensive restrictions. This was so that the Patriarch and Taigong, who were guarding outside, could come in and treat them in time if an accident happened. He was not in a hurry to break through immediately. He first made preparations and took out the royal jelly that he had kept for many years. After more than 10 years, he had only collected a little more than 500 grams. The rest had been consumed by the glutton queen bee. He usually couldn't bear to eat it, so there was no need to save it now. Royal jelly was the enhanced version of honey. It was good for the body, internal organs, and meridians. Eating it in advance would be more or less effective. He wanted to take a foundation establishment pill first to test his body's endurance. With the meridian shielding pill, there was no need for him to worry anymore. He could directly consume 2 foundation establishment pills, and he would be able to withstand it with 100% certainty. He directly ate a meridian-shielding pill with the royal jelly. After refining it, he ate 2 foundation establishment pills. After a quarter of an hour, the refining of the foundation establishment pills was completed. A strong and pure spirit chi poured into his meridians. His meridians were a little painful, but under the protection of the 2 pills and the royal jelly, it was not a big problem. Fortunately, he didn't take 3 foundation establishment pills at once. Otherwise, he would have been injured. He immediately began to run his cultivation method, turning the spirit chi into his own use, and then condensing vital essence. The pure spirit chi in the foundation establishment pills was refined very quickly. The speed of condensing vital essence was also much faster than usual. After condensing all the spirit chi into vital essence, the next step was to extract vital essence from the blood essence. The blood jade ginseng's spirit chi in the foundation establishment pills was replenished to the blood in time to avoid the situation of blood exhaustion and life-threatening danger. All the vital essence was gathered in the dantian. The next step was to compress the vital essence to trigger a qualitative change and improve the quality of the vital essence. If he could successfully improve the quality of the vital essence to the lowest standard of a foundation establishment cultivator, he would succeed. If he couldn't improve it to this level, the vital essence in the dantian would far exceed the limit that a peak chi refining stage cultivator could bear. It would then regress into spirit chi, causing a great impact to the dantian and meridians. The vast majority of cultivators who failed to build their foundation died under the impact of spirit chi. Even with the protection of the foundation establishment pills, their meridians and dantian would inevitably be injured. At the very least, they would need to recuperate for a period of time before they could break through to the foundation establishment realm again. At this time, Wang Daoyuan's spirit chi had been completely condensed into vital essence, and the vital essence in his blood essence had been completely extracted. He ran his cultivation method, compressed the vital essence, and triggered a qualitative change. The quality of the vital essence was steadily improving. After an hour, he began to feel that his vital essence was insufficient. This was a normal phenomenon. When breaking through to the foundation establishment realm, a spirit chi vortex would appear because the vital essence in the body was insufficient, and the spirit chi from the outside world was refined into vital essence. At this time, 2 spirit chi vortexes appeared outside the Immortal's cave. One was colorless, and the other was water blue. The water blue spirit chi vortex had a diameter of more than 10 feet, while the colorless spirit chi vortex had a diameter of more than 10 feet. This kind of situation would only appear in the vicinity of the Jade Dragon Spring, where the concentration of water spirit chi was higher than that of non-attributed spirit chi. Moreover, it was a breakthrough for people who cultivated multi-attributed cultivation methods. The concentration of water spirit chi far exceeded the requirements for his breakthrough, and the refining speed of the water spirit root had also reached the limit. However, the spirit chi of other attributes was far from enough. If this continued, it would be impossible for him to break through to the foundation establishment realm. When the power of his spiritual sense was exhausted and he could no longer continue to compress his vital essence, it would go out of control and the breakthrough would fail. His dantian and meridians would be damaged by the impact of spirit chi. If he ate a foundation establishment pill now, it would take time for him to refine it. By the time he finished refining it, he would have already failed to build his foundation. At this time, the clan leader and grand elder outside the Immortal's cave also saw where the problem was. Wang Jesus said to the clan leader, "Jian, take out the things at the bottom of the box and use them. Daoyuan successfully building his foundation is more useful than any treasure." Clan leader Wang Jian nodded and said, "Okay, I'll go get them." He directly used the divine walking technique and ran to the ancestral temple. After a dozen breaths, he came back with 5 array discs. These array discs were made of white jade. The clan leader and grand elder respectively placed the 5 array discs around the Immortal's cave in the east, west, north, south, and central directions. Soon after, they placed several mid-grade spirit stones on each array disc. Finally, they placed a transparent spirit stone the size of an adult's thumb on the middle array disc. This was a high-grade spirit stone. Golden core cultivators were reluctant to use it unless they were breaking through. This spirit stone was very small, less than 1/10 the size of a normal spirit stone. The quality of the spirit chi inside was very high, but the quantity was not large. It was far from enough for Wang Daoyuan to break through. After the spirit stone was placed, clan leader Wang Jian used his spiritual sense to activate the array. Soon after, the array began to operate. A colorless spirit chi vortex with a diameter of more than 300 meters appeared in the sky above Jade Spring Peak. Dust swirled up by the vortex could be seen within 300 kilometers. Some rogue cultivators passing by couldn't help but say, "What's the matter with the Wang clan?" At this time, the colorless spirit chi vortex with a diameter of more than 3 meters above Wang Daoyuan's Immortal's cave expanded to a diameter of 15 meters in a flash. After a quarter of an hour, the spirit chi vortex gradually shrank. The Immortal's cave also emitted Foundation Establishment cultivators' spirit chi fluctuations. There was no doubt that Foundation Establishment had succeeded. Chapter 150. After successfully building his foundation, Wang Daoyuan's Dantian's capacity had more than doubled, and his meridians had also widened by nearly 2 times. In addition, the quality of his spiritual power had increased. After the quality of his true essence reached the level of a first-level Foundation Establishment cultivator, it was difficult to compress it. Thus, he decided not to take the next step. Instead, he merged a portion of the true essence into his blood to form essence blood. The essence blood flowed all over his body, strengthening every part of his body. His spiritual power had also improved greatly. The total volume had nearly doubled, and the quality had also improved greatly. The difference between spiritual power before and after building his foundation was so great. It was no wonder that chi refinement cultivators couldn't practice the sword kinesis technique. After stabilizing his cultivation, he walked out of the cave and found a large group of people gathered in front of the door. After all, the commotion just now was too big and lasted for too long. Seeing him come out of the cave, the crowd cheered. The clan had another Foundation Establishment cultivator, and they were even more powerful. Moreover, he was a second-level middle-grade talisman master. After building his foundation, he would definitely become a third-level talisman master. In the future, the clan would open the exchange of second-level talismans, which would be very beneficial to everyone. He had never revealed that he was a second-level upper-grade alchemist. Otherwise, these people would have fainted from excitement. After the crowd dispersed, the clan leader took out a white jade sword and said, "This was obtained by the ancestor when he was young. It's called the Wind Sword, a second-level middle-grade wind attribute magic weapon. No one in the clan could use it. You have all 5 elements, so you can use any attribute magic weapon. I'll give it to you. This magic weapon's attack power is average, but it has one advantage. It can increase your speed by 30% when flying on the sword. You like to run around. With the Wind Sword, you'll be safer. The sword kinesis technique is on the 3rd floor of the Hidden Scriptures Tower. You can learn it yourself." Wang Daoyuan took the Wind Sword and ran to the Hidden Scriptures Tower. He found that Tai Gong was already sleeping under a tree. He took the jade slip that recorded the sword kinesis technique from the 3rd floor of the Hidden Scriptures Tower and asked Tai Gong to remove the restriction. After memorizing it, he immediately began to cultivate. After all, flying was everyone's dream. In this life, he had only flown once, and it was when he rode Yun-Yi off a cliff. When he landed, he slid more than 20 feet. The flying experience was too bad. Although the Imperial Sword technique was powerful, it wasn't complicated. After all, the sword kinesis technique collected by the Wang family was only the most ordinary one. It could not be mentioned in the same breath as the sword kinesis technique of sword cultivators. It only took him half a day to be able to control the flying sword to attack. However, it was not good to use the shocking wind sword to attack. After all, he had the 5 elements spiritual root, not the wind spiritual root. In order to drive the wind shockwave sword, one had to fuse the wood and water attribute spiritual energy into the wind attribute spiritual energy. With this additional process, one's reaction speed would be slowed down. In a battle of magical powers, the slightest bit of slowness could cost one's life. When flying on a sword, it didn't matter. That was to continuously inject spiritual energy into the flying sword, so it didn't require much reaction speed. After he got used to controlling the flying sword, he began his first flight on the sword. His spiritual energy wrapped around his feet and sword, making him feel as if he was a part of the sword. There was no feeling of discomfort. After circling around the Wang clan's territory on his sword and grasping the basics of sword kinesis flight, he returned to Jade Spring Peak. His spiritual energy was more robust than that of a first-level foundation establishment cultivator, and he also had the shocking wind sword to boost his speed. He could fly about 1,500 miles in 2 hours, which was comparable to an ordinary fourth-level foundation establishment cultivator. But an ordinary first-level foundation establishment cultivator could only fly about 1,000 miles in 2 hours. After returning to Jade Spring Peak, he immediately went into his cave residence and used his divine sense to enter the space of the Spirit Pearl to take a good look at the changes in the space of the Spirit Pearl. As expected, the space of the Spirit Pearl expanded again, reaching an area of 40 mu, and the flow of time was 40 times faster than the outside world. The concentration of spiritual energy in the space had also reached the level of a mid-grade second-rank spiritual vein. At this time, Yun-Yi, Golden Wing, and more than 10 fierce blood boars in the space of the Spirit Pearl had all entered a state of deep sleep. When demonic beasts broke through a large realm, they would usually enter a deep sleep. Yun-Yi Tiger, Golden Wing Goshawk, and Fierce Blood Boar were originally second-rank demonic beasts. After living in the space for hundreds of years, they had accumulated enough. He didn't know if it was because of the suppression of the space of the Spirit Pearl or because of his own cultivation, but they had been unable to advance. Now that he had succeeded in building his foundation, the space of the Spirit Pearl had become stronger again, and these spirit beasts could also advance. The 20 mu of land in the space still had to be properly arranged. He was already a foundation establishment cultivator, and many first-rank spiritual objects were no longer needed. As for the spiritual herbs used to refine first-rank medicinal pills, he would leave some seeds for spare and no longer plant them. He would increase the planting area of second-rank spiritual plants. Over the years, the Qing River carps in the fish pond had also bred for many generations. However, under the suppression of Wang Daoyuan, his clone, and the spirit beasts, there were never more than 300 of them. Coupled with a large number of pseudo-spirit fish, the 2 mu of fish pond was a little tight, so the fish pond was increased to 4 mu. There were also hundreds of jade butterfly orchids planted beside the fish pond, and there were many ranked reeds in the shallow water. The goldfish spiritual algae obtained in the spiritual spring cave residence had grown all over the pond, enough for the Qing River carps and pseudo-spirit fish to eat. There was no need to feed them. There were many kinds of delicacies in the space, and the demand for spiritual grains was not great. However, spiritual grains flowers were an important source of honey for soul-chasing bees, so he continued to plant 3 mu of spiritual grains. Red blood wine was an important resource, and red blood ginseng was planted in 5 mu of land. There were more than 30 jars of red blood wine more than 500 years old in the space. A peak foundation establishment cultivator only needed to drink 1 or 2 jars to recover all their spiritual power. After all, the raw materials of red blood wine were first-rank spiritual herbs. Although the effect could be enhanced over time, it could not be enhanced infinitely. At present, its effect had reached its limit. No matter how many years it was stored, the effect of restoring spiritual power would not be significantly increased. Purple cloud grass was the best raw material for second-rank talisman paper, so he naturally could not abandon it. The planting area was increased to 5 mu. The second-rank medicinal pills in the space of the spiritual bead were rejuvenation pill, vitality pill, and soul-strengthening pill. He planted 2 mu of rejuvenation pill and 3 mu of spiritual herbs needed for vitality pill and soul-strengthening pill. He kept 2 mu of foundation establishment pills supplementary herbs. He did not need foundation establishment pill, but there were so many people in the family, and he could not rely on himself to strengthen the family. He planted 1 mu of blood jade ginseng. Blood jade ginseng was not only the main ingredient for Foundation Establishment pill, but also could be used to refine high-rank healing medicinal pills. He also kept 1 mu of dragon vine. In addition to refining Foundation Establishment pill, it could also be used to refine poisons. He planted 5 mu of red scale pine. As an alchemist, he might need to practice refining techniques in the future, so he could not lack spiritual wood for burning charcoal. Moreover, the red scale pine nuts tasted good and could provide fire attribute spiritual power. The spirit forbidding silkworms in the space had already multiplied for more than 10 generations, and he had accumulated a few hundred kilograms of silk. However, he did not know how to refine weapons, so it was still piling up. This item was very valuable to a family, but to him, it was nothing. There was no need to plant too many mulberry trees, so he only planted 2 mu. The jasper watermelon did not need to be planted alone. It could be planted in the red scale pine and mulberry forest. Green jade bamboo and purple gold alfalfa were planted in 1 mu. The golden silk spirit jujube did not have much value to him anymore, so he could transplant it into the 5 elements secret realm in the future. Other than planting these spiritual plants, he also set aside 1 mu of land to make a pig pen. The other spiritual beasts were easy to manage. They were quite obedient as long as there was food. Although the yun-yi tiger and the golden-winged goshawk were active, they only played in the air and did not destroy the spiritual plants. Only the fierce blood boar was difficult to deal with. Once it was happy, it would destroy the spiritual plants, so he had to find a special place to pen it. Other than that, he also set aside 1 mu of circular spiritual fields with the peach sapling and life spiritual fire as the center to plant precious spiritual plants that were not easy to survive. For example, the hidden cloud tea. In other places, it would be difficult to even survive. However, it could thrive near the life spiritual fire. The true essence fruit tree was also planted near the life spiritual fire. The life spiritual fire's flame was already 5 inches tall. Unfortunately, the peach sapling did not grow at all. It was just that the spiritual power fluctuation had become stronger. It had already reached the level of a mid-grade rank 2 spiritual plant. Chapter 151. After dealing with the matters in the Spirit Pearl, the next step was to head to the 5 Elements Mystery Realm and refine the 5 Elements Heaven-Suppressing Seal. After Wang Daoyuan built his foundation, he could cultivate the second level of the 5 Spirits Immortal art and refine the second type of spiritual item. There was no spiritual item more suitable for him than the dust-returning flame sealed in the 5 Elements Heaven-Suppressing Seal. Wang Daoyuan invited the clan leader, 9th uncle and 12th uncle together. It was time to tell them about the mystery realm. When the 3 of them arrived, Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "I have something important to announce. This must be kept secret, so I didn't inform the other elders. I found a place for our Wang clan that will never change. It's a mystery realm that can accommodate all of our Wang clan's cultivators and mortals." The 3 of them were stunned for a long time. Clan leader Wang Jian was the first to react. He asked, "Really? What's the situation with that mystery realm? Can I joke about this?" Wang Daoyuan answered. "That mystery realm is half natural and half man-made. It's called the 5 Elements Mystery Realm. It was originally a mystery realm that was about to collapse. An ancient cultivator guided the spirit veins into it. After many years, the mystery realm regained its vitality. That ancient cultivator passed away in meditation in the 5 Elements Mystery Realm and left behind his inheritance. The cultivation technique that I cultivate is from him. Now, the 5 Elements Mystery Realm has 5 Elements spirit veins providing spirit energy. It's a circular space with a diameter of 100 miles. There are many spirit plants, spirit springs, and earth fire. 1/5 of the area is filled with level 1 and level 2 mines. More than half of the area can be developed into spirit fields and farmland. After hearing his description, the 3 of them were full of yearning for the 5 Elements Mystery Realm. Wang Shui asked while drooling, "The mystery realm of the ancient cultivator is at least 10,000 years old. Is there any spirit wine in the cellar?" Everyone glanced at him. Everyone was looking forward to the bright future of the Wang clan. Can't you be more promising by talking about this? Wang Shui smiled awkwardly. Daoyuan, please continue. We're all listening. Wang Daoyuan continued, this mystery realm is at the intersection of the Huiyan mountain range and the Sky/mountain range. It's about 500 miles south. There's a 10-mile wide land of no spirit, so there's no need to worry about safety. The only troublesome thing was how to move the clansmen over. The best route was to head east along Huiyan Mountain, then head south at the junction of the two mountains. However, along the way, the various clans had many properties and there were innumerable loose cultivators. It was not possible to secretly move them. If we don't go back to Wild Goose Mountain Range, we'll have to head east. It's too dangerous to travel thousands of miles in the Heaven/Mountain Range. Chief Wang Jian pondered for a moment and said, we can move a small number of clansmen there and carry out a simple development first. For more than 20 years, the Netherworld sect and the Cruel Sun Palace had been fighting at the border. Although there were no major problems in the long run, it was inevitable that a war would break out. The current stable situation won't last long. We have to make preparations as soon as possible. Wang Daoyuan continued, I'm the only one who can enter that mystic realm. I need to refine the core of the mystic realm before I can control it and allow others to enter. I tried once before, but unfortunately, my divine sense wasn't strong enough to refine the core of the mystic realm. Now that I've reached the foundation establishment stage, my spiritual sense should be enough. I want to give it another try. Chief Wang Jian pondered for a moment and said, I'll go with you. Let's take a look at the situation first before deciding what to do next. Shui, after Daoyuan and I leave, you'll be in charge of the clan's important matters. Wang Shui probed, Fifth uncle, why don't you stay at Jade Spring Peak while I go with Daoyuan to take a look? Wang Jian asked with a fake smile, what do you think? Wang Daoyuan comforted him and said, 12th uncle, just stay at Jade Spring Peak. If we can really find spiritual wine, I'll leave some for you. Wang Daoyuan and the chief changed into loose cultivators and left Jade Spring Peak together, using Earth Escape to head northeast. When they reached the intersection of the two mountains, they came out from underground and headed south. Wang Daoyuan released the soul-chasing bees to open a path in front. Previously, he had never exposed the existence of the soul-chasing bees in front of others, but now he had no choice but to do so. After entering the Heaven/Mountain Range without the soul-chasing bees to open a path, even if both of them were foundation establishment cultivators, it would be difficult for them to come out alive. Wang Jian saw him release the soul-chasing bees and asked, when did you raise a spirit bee? Wang Daoyuan answered, it's been many years. I got it from killing an assassin. It's just that this spirit bee is related to the Myriad Spirit sect, and I suspect that the assassin is also from the Myriad Spirit sect. I've never dared to use this spirit bee in front of others. This spirit bee is good at finding spiritual items. All these years, I've given the clans so many spiritual herbs, and most of them were found by the spirit bee. Wang Jian smiled and said, you're really lucky. No wonder others enter the Heaven/Mountain Range and have a slim chance of survival. Entering the Heaven/Mountain Range is like entering your own backyard. With the soul-chasing bees opening a path, they didn't encounter any demonic beasts along the way. They easily arrived near the small mountain where the Five Elements Mystery Realm was located. When they arrived at the land of void spirits, Wang Jian said excitedly, it's really a natural moat. With this land of void spirits, we don't have to worry about being harassed by demonic beasts. The two of them arrived in front of the five-colored boulder. Wang Daoyuan placed his hand on the boulder, and soon, the boulder automatically moved away, revealing the door behind it. Wang Daoyuan said, Fifth great uncle, please wait here for a while. I'll go in and refine the core of the mystery realm first. After saying that, he walked into the door, and the door automatically closed. After entering the stone room where the five element spiritual master's remains were, he knelt on the futon and kowtowed 3 times. He said, Disciple Wang Daoyuan from another generation greets master. Today, Disciple wants to bury Master in the 5 Elements mystery realm. I hope Master won't blame me for disturbing Master's remains. After learning Master's cultivation technique, the status of Master and Disciple was inevitable. The cultivation world had always valued the status of Master and Disciple, so kowtowing was reasonable. After bowing, he moved out his doppelganger from the space and a simple stretcher. He placed the remains of the 5 Elements spiritual master on the stretcher. He and his doppelganger carried the remains of the 5 Elements spiritual master into the mystery realm and buried them beside the altar. They erected a tombstone with the words, "Tomb of Master 5 Elements Spiritual Master," erected by disciple Wang Daoist from another generation. After burying the 5 Elements spiritual master, Wang Daoist gave the golden silk spirit jujube and some spiritual plants that he didn't need to his doppelganger to plant in the mystery realm. He stood on the altar and activated the restriction, sinking into the ground with the altar. Once again, he went to the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal and forced out a drop of blood essence, dripping it on the seal button of the seal. The 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal began to move very quickly. It flickered with a bright light and was slightly trembling. Wang Daoist immediately probed it with his divine sense and began to condense the divine sense brand. With the previous experience and the success of the foundation establishment, the power of his divine sense had more than doubled. Condensing the divine sense brand again was much smoother. It took him 6 hours to condense a complete divine sense imprint. After the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal recognized him as its master, the power of a middle-grade 4th-rank magic tool erupted. If he wasn't the owner of the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal, he, a foundation establishment cultivator, would have been directly shocked to death. At this time, looking at the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal again, although its appearance was no different from before, it had more spirituality and a trace of majesty. The formation patterns around the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal also became brighter. The concentration of spiritual chi in the 5 spirit veins that were drawn over by the formation also showed a trend of slowly increasing. Chapter 152. After Wang Daoist refined the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal, he learned some information about it. The 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal's main function was to suppress and was not suitable for fighting. It was not that it was not powerful. On the contrary, the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal's lethality was very strong, but this lethality depended on its weight. The seal would become heavier when it was injected with the 5 Elements Spirit Chi. Back then, the 5 Elements Spiritual Master was at the peak of the Golden Core realm and could not see its maximum weight. With its great weight, it could smash someone to death. It was just that its weight was too heavy and it consumed a lot of spirit chi and spiritual sense when it was used. Its speed was not fast and it was difficult to hit someone. If it was used to deal with enemies who could not move freely, it would be a one-hit kill. However, the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal was now the core of the 5 Elements Secret Realm. Once it was damaged in a fight, the 5 Elements Secret Realm would also be implicated. Moreover, the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal could not leave the Secret Realm for a long time or go too far. Otherwise, the Secret Realm would collapse if it lost contact with it. If an enemy attacked the Secret Realm, he could use the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal to defend. These were all very far away. With Wang Daoyuan's current foundation establishment cultivation, it was not easy to successfully recognize him as its master. If he wanted to use it to fight an enemy, he might not be able to make it leave the ground even if he injected all his spirit chi and spiritual sense, let alone use it in a fight. Wang Daoyuan did not expect to use it in a fight. Suppressing the secret realm was more important. Since he had refined the 5 Elements Heaven Suppression Seal, it was time to take out the sealed dust returning flame. The 5 Spirits Immortal art was the best choice to refine the 5 Element Spirit Fire as it had a strong growth potential. Among the 5 Element Spirit Fire, the Fire Element Spirit Fire was the easiest to find. High-level Fire Element Demon Beasts might have a Spirit Fire and Magma could nurture a Spirit Fire. It was not impossible to obtain a Fire Element Spirit Fire by paying a huge price. The other 4 spirit fires were much rarer. He already had one and was about to have a second one. If he could get a fire element spirit fire that was easier to find, he would not have to worry about reaching the Purple Mansion realm. After reaching the Violet Palace realm, he would have a lifespan of 500 years. He could take his time searching for the Returnant's flame before him. He had already refined the 5 elements heaven-suppressing seal. As long as he used the power of his consciousness, he would be able to retrieve the dust-returning flame. Wang Jian looked at the tomb beside the altar and asked, "This 5-element spiritual master is the senior who left behind the 5 elements secret realm and his inheritance?" Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, "Yes, I have received his inheritance. I have already gone through the ceremony of becoming his disciple." Wang Jian bowed to the tombstone and said, "Junior cultivator Wang Jian greets senior." The Wang family was able to stay in the 5 elements secret realm because of senior's legacy. Junior dares to invite senior's memorial tablet into the Wang family's ancestral temple. In the future, as long as the Wang family is not destroyed, senior's legacy will continue. After saying that, he bowed again. Wang Jian patrolled the entire secret realm and said, "This secret realm is indeed an everlasting foundation. Daoyuan, in your opinion, how should we develop it?" Wang Daoyuan thought for a while and said, "My opinion is to first move some inconspicuous people in the family over and carry out a simple development. In the future, we can open up a few businesses between the Jade Spring Peak and the 5 Elements secret realm as a transfer station and gradually move some of the family's mortals over. There is also the problem of the array formation of the secret realm's doors. Now, only I can control this array formation, and I can't stay here forever. Master is a rank 4 array master, and I don't have the ability to change his work. It's better to close the array formation of the door and change it to another array formation." Wang Jian said, "In the family's secret treasury, there are still some array discs that the old ancestor obtained back then. They can be used on the door. Then that's it, I will go back and bring a few clansmen over to stay here." After saying that, Wang Jian was about to leave. Wang Daoyuan took out the golden wings that had successfully advanced to rank 2 low-grade from the space and said, "It's not easy to walk in the sky/mountain range, it's safer to let the golden wings lead the way." After Wang Jian left, he began to cultivate the 2nd level of the 5-spirit immortal transformation technique, extracting the essence of the dust-returning flame and condensing the earth attribute spirit power seed. The use of the dust-returning flame was recorded in the 5 Elements Spiritual Master's Manual. The dust-returning flame could rely on earth attribute spirit chi and all earth attribute spiritual objects to burn. In addition, anything within the 5 elements would be corroded and decomposed into spirit chi when it touched the dust-returning flame. Wang Daoyuan's consciousness entered the space of the spiritual pearl and saw the effect of the dust-returning flame. He saw that the dust-returning flame landed in the center of the entire spiritual pearl's space. This was the spirit field where the scarlet blood ginseng was planted. With the dust-returning flame as the center, all the scarlet blood ginseng within a 1-foot diameter disappeared. He threw a stalk of spirit grain over, and in a few breaths, it turned into spirit chi and dissipated, leaving only a bit of ash. Then he threw a bamboo pole of green jade bamboo over, and in less than 100 breaths, the bamboo pole turned into pure wood attribute spirit chi, leaving only a pile of ash on the ground. When spiritual objects of other attributes were thrown in, without exception, they were all decomposed into spirit chi, leaving behind a pile of ash without any spirit power fluctuations. Chapter 153. 4 Phase of different attributes. The dust return flame's decomposition speed was different. Wood attribute and water attribute phase decomposed very quickly, while metal attribute phase decomposed the slowest. Raw materials decomposed very quickly, but after being refined into magic artifacts, they decomposed very slowly. He threw a mid-grade Tier 1 magic artifact longsword over. After 2 hours, the longsword's surface only had holes in it. But if he threw a metal attribute or over, it would be completely decomposed into spirit chi in less than 15 minutes. The higher the grade, the slower the decomposition speed. The lower the grade, the faster the decomposition speed. The fastest things decomposed by the dust-returning flame were still living things or their corpses. Rank 1 spirit plants and spirit beasts would be reduced to a pile of ash in less than 10 breaths of time if they were thrown onto the dust-returning flame. High-grade spiritual plants and spiritual beasts would be decomposed slower. Wang Daoyuan was overjoyed. Such a decomposing attribute could be used against enemies, especially against spiritual beasts. He could directly attach the spell to the enemy and slowly decompose them. After learning about the Dust Return Flame's powerful ability, he couldn't wait to start cultivating the second stage of the 5-spirit immortal transformation art. He still used the old method to condense a ball of earth attribute spirit power and send it into the spirit pearl space to envelop a small portion of the flame. He then used his divine sense to cut off this small portion of the flame from the rest. This small portion of the dust return flame continued to burn in the spirit power ball. He took the spirit power ball out of the spirit pearl's space and circulated the 5-spirit immortal transformation art to extract the special spirit power from the dust return flame to condense an earth attribute spirit power seed. 5 days later, he repeatedly divided the dust return flame more than 10 times and finally condensed an earth yellow spirit power seed the size of a soybean. The dust return flame's grade was higher than the life spirit fire. It had just been condensed and was already stronger than the wood attribute spirit power seed that had been nurtured for several years. He spent another day refining all the earth attribute spiritual energy in his body for the second time. He then took out a withered branch of the red-scaled pine from the spirit pearl's space and threw it on the ground. He then used the Tier 1 quicksand spell to envelop the withered branch. The quicksand spell created a field of quicksand on the ground to trap the enemy. It was a pure trapping spell with no lethality and a slow casting speed. It wasn't very useful against agile opponents. However, using the second refined earth attribute spirit power to cast the quicksand spell had a different effect. After 40 breaths of time, only a little bit of ash was left of the dead branch that was trapped in the quicksand technique. Although the time it took for the earth elemental spiritual power to corrode and decompose the soil was more than 4 times that of the dust-returning flame, it was already very impressive. If he used this move to deal with opponents who were known for their strong physical bodies and slow speed, he would be able to severely injure them with just this quicksand technique. Of course, it depended on the strength of the opponent. If the opponent's spiritual power was stronger than his own, or if they had a powerful spell, they could forcibly break the quicksand technique. He then tried the sand flying spell, which was also a level 1 spell. Using earth attribute spiritual energy, he created a cloud of dust that flew towards the enemy. It had almost no destructive power and could only be used to deceive the enemy's vision and divine sense, taking advantage of the opportunity to escape. However, his sand flying technique enveloped a few dead trees. After about 60 to 70 breaths, the dead trees all turned into ashes. Wang Daoyuan proudly said, "Who said that earth element spells have low attack power? This destructive power is even more frightening than fire element spells." Yao Beast's resistance to the returning dust flame was even weaker than spirit plants. He also wanted to use spirit beasts to test the destructive power of earth element spells. Suddenly, he felt a strange movement from the 5 elements heaven suppressing seal. After communicating with the 5 elements heaven-suppressing seal with his divine sense, he found that someone had touched the outermost array. Wang Daoyuan walked behind the 5-colored rock. The array restriction on the rock made it impossible for people outside to use their divine sense to probe inside, but the people inside could use their divine sense to probe outside. He used his divine sense to probe outside and found that the patriarch had come with 6 clansmen. He immediately activated the array and moved the 5-colored rock, revealing the door and welcoming them in. Among the 6 clansmen, 5 of them were of the patriarch's generation. These 5 granduncles were ranked at the bottom, but even so, they were all about 100 years old. Their cultivation talent was not good, and they did not have any skills. They were usually arranged in the various mortal settlements of the clan and were responsible for managing mortal affairs. Among the patriarch's generation, only the patriarch and ninth granduncle were still in charge. Moreover, ninth granduncle was already more than 110 years old and was only a few years away from the end of his life. That generation had already withered away, and now it was the era of the Shou and Dao generations. Among the 6 clansmen who came with the patriarch, there was an elder that he was both familiar and unfamiliar with. This person was 6th Uncle Wang Shoufeng. When he returned to Jade Spring Peak alone after the battle in Guiyan Valley, 6th Uncle Wang Shoufeng colluded with 2 elders to seize the opportunity to seize power. Fortunately, Taigong stood up and temporarily took over the patriarch's position. Wang Shoufeng was confined, and the other 2 elders of the Ji generation who colluded with him were also marginalized and began to retire in advance. More than 20 years had passed, and those 2 granduncles had already passed away. After not seeing them for so many years, he almost forgot about this 6th uncle. The 6 clansmen followed behind the patriarch and entered the door. They all bowed to Wang Daoyuan to show their respect for the clan's elders. He greeted them as granduncle and 6th uncle and returned their greetings. Leading the patriarch and the elders into the secret realm, the 5 granduncles' beards and hair were all white, but when they saw the scene in the secret realm, they were as happy as children. They grew up during the clan's most difficult days. Although they didn't contribute much to the clan, they worked conscientiously for more than 80 years. Even if they didn't contribute much, they still worked hard. Now that the clan had a stable backup plan, they were naturally happy from the bottom of their hearts. The fact that the patriarch brought them here meant that they were absolutely trustworthy. However, he didn't understand why the patriarch brought 6th uncle here. Wang Shoufeng looked at the 5 elements' secret realm and trembled with excitement. 2 lines of hot tears flowed out of his eyes. He turned to Wang Daoyuan and was about to kneel down. Frightened, Wang Daoyuan immediately supported him. Cultivation clans valued seniority the most. No matter what mistakes he made, even if he was killed as a junior, he couldn't accept the elders' respect. Wang Daoyuan said, 6th uncle, if you have something to say, we can talk about it. Please don't be like this. Wang Shoufeng cried and said, I've let you down, let the clan down, and let you call me 6th uncle. Back then, when the clan was in danger, I only wanted to fight for power. After you came back, I even wanted to get rid of you. Fortunately, the Grand Elder took charge of the situation. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the face to see my ancestors. All these years, I've quietly reflected on my mistakes. I know that compared to you and 12th brother, I'm too far behind. Back then, before 12th brother entered the clan, the elders did their best to train me, but I wanted to kill the clan's hope. I've let them down. Wang Daoyuan saw that he was sincerely remorseful and comforted him. Everyone makes mistakes. It's great that you can change your mistakes. Let bygones be bygones. Besides, you didn't cause any serious consequences, did you? Since the patriarch brought you here, it means that you're trustworthy. The patriarch's will is the entire clan's will. The clan has forgiven you. The patriarch also comforted him. Shoufeng, don't take the past to heart. I completely trust you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have restored your elder status. Wang Shoufeng wiped his tears and said, I just want to do something for the clan before I die. After I die, I'll have the face to enter the ancestral grave and receive the incense of my descendants. Although 6th uncle had made mistakes, his personal ability wasn't weak. After all, he had been trained as the successor for decades. His management ability was excellent. There was nothing to worry about leaving the 5 elements' secret realm to him. He just reminded them not to touch the altar and disturb the 5 elements' spiritual master's rest. Chapter 154. Wang Daoyuan and the clan leader went to the door behind the 5-colored rock and started to set up the formation. This formation was made up of several formation plates. Once the plates were buried underground, the formation would be activated as long as they were supplied with spiritual energy. There was no need to worry about spiritual energy. 5 Elements Daoist had connected this place to the spirit veins in the secret realm. They only needed to bury the formation plates in the right place to connect to the spirit veins. After burying the formation plates, the clan leader took out a token. After activating it, the formation was activated immediately. After activating it again, the formation was closed. Afterwards, he gave the token to Wang Daoyuan and said, "This is the token used to activate the formation. Don't lose it. This formation is a third-grade formation left behind by the ancestor. There aren't many tokens left. Only Foundation Establishment cultivators can use this token. Don't give it to anyone else. There are still matters to take care of in the clan. I'll go back first." Wang Daoyuan felt it was a bit strange. There were Taigong, 9th great-uncle and 12th uncle in the clan. What matter did the clan leader have to take care of personally? Thus, he asked, "What happened? Did the Liang clan do something again?" The clan leader smiled and said, "I really can't hide it from you. The Liang clan came up with another idea. They urged the Netherworld sect to attack the Red-Beard bandits. They haven't reached a consensus yet and it's not a big deal. They didn't plan to let you participate." Wang Daoyuan thought for a while and said, "I'll also return to Jade Spring Peak. I'll leave this place to 6th uncle and 5th great-uncle. There's nothing to worry about." After giving some instructions to the 6 people who stayed behind, the 2 of them left the 5 Elements secret realm and opened the portal formation. As soon as Wang Daoyuan stepped out of the portal, the golden wings descended from the sky and landed on his shoulder. He put the golden wings back into the space in the spiritual pearl and released the soul-chasing bees to scout the way. The 2 of them quickly returned to the clan. When they returned to Jade Spring Peak, they saw an old cultivator wearing a green robe chatting with Taigong under the ancient pine tree. This person's robe was embroidered with a poplar tree. He was a cultivator of the Yang clan. To be able to make Taigong come out personally, this person was definitely a Foundation Establishment cultivator. Moreover, his seniority was not low. The clan leader stepped forward and bowed to the Foundation Establishment cultivator of the Yang clan. "Greetings, senior." Wang Daoyuan naturally followed suit and bowed, calling him senior. The Yang family ancestor had always considered himself to be the junior of the Wang family ancestor and was 1 generation higher than Taigong. For the patriarch to call this person senior meant that he was of the same generation as Taigong. This person was the son of the Yang family's old ancestor. The Yang clan's Foundation Establishment cultivator smiled and said, "The 2 of you are also in the Foundation Establishment realm. You can address each other as equals." The patriarch repeatedly said that he did not dare. The Yang family senior looked at Wang Daoyuan and asked, "This little friend looks quite young. You should be from the Dao generation, right?" Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, replying to senior, "This junior's name is Wang Daoyuan." He thought for a moment and asked, "I remember that more than 20 years ago, my father said that there was a junior in the Wang family called Wang Daoyuan who was not a fish in a pond. He was probably talking about you." Sure enough, he was not simple. He had built his foundation at such a young age. "If I remember correctly, you are still of my Yang family bloodline?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Yes. According to the secular world's hierarchy, I am the 8th generation descendant of old ancestor Yang." The Yang clan's Foundation Establishment cultivator smiled and said, "Good. The 2 families have intermarried for generations, and now there is finally a Foundation Establishment junior with the bloodline of both families. In the future, if the Yang family is in trouble, I hope that you can help the Yang family for the sake of your bloodline." Wang Daoyuan was a little surprised. What did he mean? These words were not said casually. Could it be that the Yang family was in trouble and had something to ask of the Wang family? Otherwise, there was no need to pull strings in the first place. The last sentence, which said that he would take care of the Yang family in the future, implied that he needed the Wang family's help now. The Yang family's old ancestor was still alive. If the Yang family could not solve the problem, how could the Wang family help? He was at a loss. There was something he did not know about, so he did not know how to answer. As a Foundation Establishment cultivator, his words and actions could represent the family. His answer was equivalent to the Wang family's attitude. Perhaps seeing his dilemma, Taigong smiled and said, "Little brother, what are you saying? The two families are one, and there is no distinction between each other. The Yang family's matters are my Wang family's matters." The Yang family's foundation establishment stood up and said, "With elder brother's words, I am relieved. There are still matters to attend to in the family, so I will return first." Wang Daoyuan and the family head sent him down the mountain together. When the two returned, Wang Daoyuan asked, "Taigong, what does this senior Yang mean? The Yang family has something to ask of our Wang family?" Wang Jizi sighed and said, Liang, that old man, has figured out the Yang family's bloodline." A few years ago, the Liang family's properties were attacked by the Red-Beard bandits, and the family members suffered heavy losses. In these few years, the Red-Beard bandits secretly attacked the Liang family several times, and the Liang family lost many family members. In order to completely eliminate the threat of the Red-Beard bandits, Liang wanted the underworld sect to take the lead and recruit all the families to eliminate the Red-Beard bandits. The underworld sect was also divided on this matter internally. The Red-Beard bandits only attacked the Liang family, and the underworld sect itself did not suffer any losses. The west side was also fighting fiercely with the cruel Sun Palace, so the upper echelons did not want to care about this matter. Liang used many connections before the upper echelons relented, saying that whether to attack or not depended on the opinions of the nearby families. The Liang family threw out some benefits and made the surrounding families agree to attack the Red-Beard bandits. The benefit given to our Wang family was a Tier 2 cinnabar mine on the north bank of Clearstream, not too far from Mirror Iron Mountain. The benefit given to the Meng family was a small mine with a spirit vein in the northwest of Clear Glass Market. The benefit given to the Yang family was 3 mines on the south bank of Clearstream. Our Wang family and Meng family do not need these at all, but the Yang family is crazy about the waterway port. This is the best chance to take down the port of Clearstream. Therefore, the Yang family's intention is to agree to suppress the Red-Beard bandits and eat this benefit. Isn't this person here to persuade our Wang family? Wang Daoyuan sucked in a cold breath and said, "The Liang family also has capable people. This is an overt scheme, taking advantage of the fact that the Yang family is unwilling to give up the port of Clearstream. They also know that our Wang family and Meng family do not dare to fall out with the Yang family. Moreover, this back and forth, the Liang family did not suffer a single loss, and even dragged our 3 families into the water." The clan leader asked, "The Liang family paid such a high price. How can you say that they did not suffer a single loss?" Wang Daoyuan answered, "The Liang family was bullied by the Red-Beard bandits. They should have lost about a third of their cultivators, and won't be able to recover for several decades. Although the current Liang family is barely able to defend all of their properties, the Red-Beard bandits will not give up so easily. If the Liang family wants to protect themselves, they must give up some of their properties and hole up near the core area. If I remember correctly, the properties that the Liang family gave up were all more than 300 kilometers away from Clear Sky Peak. Within 300 kilometers, the Liang family's late-stage foundation establishment cultivators would be able to provide support in about 15 minutes if they rushed with all their might. If they were any further, they would not be able to provide support in a short period of time. If they were ambushed by the Red-Beard bandits, it is very likely that they would lose their clansmen. The Liang family could not defend those properties and could only sell them. Even if our 3 families did not agree, the Liang family would still have to give up those properties. They gave away some things that they could not hold on to in the first place. At most they would have to pay a few spirit stones. Can spirit stones be considered a price? Grand Duke and the clan leader both nodded in agreement. Grand Duke shook his head helplessly and said, "The Yang family has been blinded by profit, wanting to swallow the meat as soon as they see it. They did not think about why the Liang family sent the meat into their own mouths. Sigh, it's no wonder that the Yang family does not have a port, and transportation is laborious. But why can't they wait a little longer? The Yang family has so many people, they can't all be short-sighted people, right?" Wang Daoyuan pondered for a while and said, "I was wondering what was wrong." So the Liang family still had a scheme. We agreed to fight the Red-Beard bandits, so we had to send people, and we were dragged into the water by the Liang family. If the Red-Beard bandits were destroyed, the Liang family would benefit the most, and they would not have to take a beating. What if they could not be destroyed? Chapter 155. Patriarch Wang Jian sucked in a breath of cold air. If we can't exterminate them, our families will have offended the Red-Beard pirates. The ones being beaten changed from the Liang family to all the families around Clear Glass City. Our Wang family and Meng family were the first to bear the brunt. After all, our territories are the closest to Mount Huiyin. The Liang clan's move was indeed powerful. Regardless of success or failure, the Liang clan would benefit greatly. If our Wang clan and Meng clan succeed, we will gain the least advantage. If we fail, we will suffer the greatest loss. The key point is that the Yang family is already enraged. Our Wang family can't offend the Yang family for this matter. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, although it's troublesome, it's not a matter of life and death. When the time comes, we'll just do our part. It's just that our Wang clan doesn't have enough manpower. Even if we do send someone to attack the Red-Beard bandits, we'll have to insist that we only send Foundation Establishment cultivators and not Qi Refinement cultivators. Once a Qi Refinement cultivator entered the depths of Mount Huiyin, there would definitely be losses. The Red-Beard bandits retaliated by targeting the Liang clan and the other clans who were fighting fiercely. As long as our Foundation Establishment cultivators don't stand out, there's a good chance that they'll be fine. We have to make the Liang family hand over their assets first before we agree. With the property in their hands, the benefits of the Yang family would have already been swallowed into their stomachs. Even if we don't put in any effort, the Yang family has nothing to say. After all, we've already given the Yang family enough face by agreeing to this matter. Hearing this, Tai Gong and the Patriarch let out a sigh of relief. The Patriarch said, "We can also use the Liang family as an example. Once the other families lose members, the Liang family will have to pay compensation. If the Meng family agreed, it should be Meng Qingshan who did it. He did not have many years left to live. This time, it was very likely that he would not be able to return alive. Letting the Liang family take out the pension could also slightly weaken the Liang family's strength and replenish the Meng family's finances. However, if we can't exterminate the Red-Beard bandits, then our Wang clan's territories in the north and west will no longer be peaceful." Wang Daoyuan was very confident. He smiled and said, "I'm not afraid of that. Our Wang clan can just add a few more Foundation Establishment cultivators." The clan leader shook his head and smiled wryly. Who doesn't want to have a few more foundation-building cultivators in the clan? But where can we find foundation-building pills? Wang Daoyuan took out 5 Tier 2 jade boxes and opened one of them. Inside was a blood-red pill the size of a longan. Both Tai Gong and the Patriarch widened their eyes. They quickly opened the other jade boxes and saw that they were all building Foundation Dawn. The clan leader was so excited that he gasped for breath. "You? Where did you get so many Foundation Establishment pills?" Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "These were all left behind by Master." Pills that had just been concocted all had a fiery aura, which could be seen at a glance. Therefore, he didn't take it out earlier. But now, these building foundation pills had been stored in the space of the spirit bead for about 2 years, so there was no longer any heat in them. It was impossible to tell how long it had been since they had been refined. The Patriarch sighed and said, "Senior 5 Elements Daoist, your kindness to our Wang clan is truly too great. I won't stand on ceremony with you. In any case, I'll leave the entire family to you in the future." After saying that, he hurriedly closed all 5 jade boxes to prevent them from losing their medicinal properties. Wang Daoyuan said, "These building foundation establishment pills can be used by 8th uncle and 9th aunt first. They're almost 70 years old. As for the rest, we can let suitable clansmen build their foundations in the secret territory and temporarily guard it there. Outsiders won't know that our Wang clan has so many people building their foundations. In a few years, the Netherworld sect will be auctioning building foundation establishment pills again. Our clan can buy 1 or 2 more to explain why our clansmen have built their foundations." Tai Gong stroked his beard and laughed. Daoyuan is still the most considerate. Even in my dreams, I never thought that our clan would be able to prosper so quickly. It's all thanks to Daoyuan. Right at this moment, the patriarch received a message from Elder Zhou. The Netherworld sect had asked for the opinions of the various clans about the punitive expedition against the Red-Beard bandits, asking them to send people to Qingli Market to discuss this matter. The patriarch made some preparations and was about to leave when Wang Daoyuan hurriedly said, "I'll go with them. I just happen to need to go to the north of the mountain to look for something. This time I can go explore the path." The patriarch didn't have any objections, and the two of them were about to leave Yuchuan Peak. Wang Shui suddenly rushed out, also wanting to go. Ever since he built his foundation, he had been busy dealing with the clan's affairs all day long, so he basically didn't have time to go out for a stroll. He was almost bored to death. Now that he saw a chance to go out, how could he give it up? He said eagerly, "I'll go with them too. After I built my foundation, I haven't fought much. Give me a chance. How about Daoyuan don't go and give this chance to me?" Wang Daoyuan patted his shoulder and said with a smile, "12th uncle, not letting you go is for your own good. What if you run into danger?" Wang Shui naturally wasn't convinced. "Your cultivation level is lower than mine. I'm at least in the 3rd layer of the foundation establishment realm, and you're only in the 1st layer. How can you compare with me?" Wang Daoyuan took out the shocking wind sword. "Can you fly as fast as me?" Water attribute cultivators didn't have any praiseworthy points in terms of speed, so they naturally couldn't compare with Wang Daoyuan. Without waiting for him to refute, Wang Daoyuan took out 2 middle-grade 2nd-rank talismans. "Can you attack as hard as me?" Wang Shui wasn't convinced. He also took out 2 middle-grade 2nd-rank talismans. "I have them too." Wang Daoyuan looked at him disdainfully and took out a stack of middle-grade 2nd-rank talismans. There were about 50 to 60 of them. Wang Shui was discouraged. He hung his head dejectedly. Wang Daoyuan took out 5 jars of 20-year-old scarlet blood wine and handed them to him. His expression immediately vanished. He snatched the scarlet blood wine and happily returned to his immortal's cave. The two of them left Jade Spring Peak on their flying swords, heading straight for Clear Glass Market. 4 hours later, they arrived at the Netherworld sect's headquarters in Clear Glass Market. The other clans in the vicinity had pretty much all arrived. 2 foundation establishment cultivators came out and led everyone to a large hall to take a seat. Not long after, Zhou Qi and Yang Yong, 2 Zifu sect elders, entered the hall and sat in the main seats. Zhou Qi said, "This time, everyone was invited by the Liang clan. They want to exterminate the Scarlet Beard Bandits. The Scarlet Beard Bandits brazenly attacked our Netherworld sect's subordinate clans. The sect master and several core formation ancestors were furious and agreed to the Liang clan's request. However, the Scarlet Beard Bandits are so few in number. It's not worth the sect making such a big fuss. Therefore, the clans in the vicinity of Clear Glass Market gathered people. The Netherworld sect also sent out 10 foundation establishment cultivators to exterminate the Scarlet Beard Bandits. Of course, the Netherworld sect didn't forcibly recruit the clans. Whether or not to fight is up to everyone. I'm about to leave Clear Glass Market and return to the sect. In the future, this Clear Glass Market will be overseen by Elder Yang. This meeting will be presided over by Elder Yang. I'll take my leave now." Everyone stood up and said, "Congratulations on your promotion, Elder Zhou." After Zhou Qi left, everyone once again cupped their hands towards Yang Yong and said, "Congratulations, Elder Yang." Wang Daoyuan finally understood why the Yang clan was so proactive. Was a dignified Zifu sect cultivator really bewitched by a few docs? So there was an exchange of benefits involved. Most likely, Zhou Qi had some other great use for Clear Glass Market, and the Liang clan ancestor had made some kind of promise. Overseeing Clear Glass Market was a lucrative job. Moreover, it was very powerful. Overseeing 10 to 20 Netherworld sect foundation establishment cultivators was enough to command half of the clans in Clear Glass County. These benefits were far from what a few mines and docks could compare to. Chapter 156. The Liang clan was really willing to bleed this time. In order to pull the other clans down, they didn't hesitate to help the Yang clan. In this way, the Liang clan could only be below the Yang clan. They would never be able to compete with the Yang clan in the future. The Netherworld sect's local faction wanted to balance the other two factions. Now, it was the external faction that was crushing the family faction. The local faction naturally had to suppress the external faction and support the family faction. As a member of the external faction, the Liang clan's ancestor couldn't take over Zhou Qi's position. But the external faction could fan the wind behind and light the ghost fire, making Yang Yong unable to take over. Yang Yong guarded Clear Glass City. He could be considered an elder with real power in the Netherworld sect. There weren't many people from the family faction. There weren't many Purple Mansion elders. He became an elder with real power and could be said to be the leader of the family faction. With his identity as the leader of the family faction, he could obtain the support of many old clans. This had great significance to the Yang clan's future development. It wasn't impossible for them to become the #1 clan in Clear Glass City. With such great benefits, anyone would be envious. What was the point of fighting with the Red Beard bandits and dragging the Wang and Meng clans down? Zhou Qi left the venue. The rest were the interested parties. Everyone sat down. Yang Yong was the first to speak. Elder Zhou said just now that the Netherworld sect didn't recruit everyone. Whether or not to fight the Red Beard bandits is up to the clan heads. As an elder of the Netherworld sect, it's not convenient for me to speak. The clan heads can discuss among themselves. The Liang clan was the initiator. Naturally, they couldn't be a coward. The Liang clan head stood up and said, "The Red Beard bandits are audacious. They dare to openly enter Clear Glass City and attack the businesses of the Netherworld sect's subordinate clans. If we don't punish them severely, it will only make them more arrogant. They might even dare to attack Clear Glass City." The cultivators of the various clans stared at Liang Jiaxing like they were watching a monkey show. He wanted to drag everyone down with him and still spoke like a human. No one answered. They just looked at Liang Jiaxing with a smile that wasn't a smile. Liang Jiaxing was a bit embarrassed. He glanced at the Huang clan head Huang Wanzhong. The Huang clan was in the southwest of Clear Glass City. They were also under the jurisdiction of the Clear Glass City's elder. When Huang Wanzhong was auctioning off the Foundation establishment pill, he wantonly raised the price and was cheated by Wang Jian. He had to borrow spirit stones from the Liang clan to barely survive. Now, the Huang family had completely become the Liang family's dog. Since its owner was being treated like a monkey, the dog naturally had to bark a few times. Huang Wanzhong immediately agreed. Patriarch Liang's words are reasonable. If we let the Red Beard bandits go, they will become even more lawless. The effect of these words was very obvious. Now, the two of them were the ones being watched as monkeys. The atmosphere turned cold. Yang Yong coughed lightly and said, "Everyone, please make your stance clear. We can't let this stalemate continue." Since Elder Yang had spoken, even if he didn't give face to the monk, he still had to express his stance. The Wang and Meng clans had always been close to the Yang clan. At this time, they had to speak up. The Wang clan situation was getting better and better, and this matter wasn't beneficial to the Wang clan at all. Even if they didn't say anything, it wouldn't be a problem if the Yang clan were to be displeased. The Meng family was still running a miserable business. They relied on the Yang family for protection and could only be the vanguard. The Meng clan's grand elder, Meng Qingshan, smiled and said, "This is for everyone's own good. With the Red Beard bandits running rampant, everyone will have a hard time." After the Meng clan expressed their stance, several clans close to the Yang clan also expressed their stance one after another. It wouldn't be good for the Wang clan to continue remaining silent. Wang Jian swept a glance at Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan immediately understood. They had already discussed at Jade Spring Peak that they would make the Liang family bleed first. The patriarch was a leading figure. It would be a bit shameful if he were to haggle. Wang Daoyuan was only in his 40s. Among foundation-building cultivators, he was a genuine youngster. None of the others present were under 100 years old. It was just right for him to speak on behalf of the patriarch. If he spoke well, he would be called young and promising. If he spoke poorly, the patriarch would reprimand him for being young and ignorant. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Seniors and Liang Dao, you are right. The red-beard bandits must be fought. However, before the troops and horses are mobilized, the provisions must be mobilized first. We can't fight the red-beard bandits on an empty stomach." These words were also laced with sarcasm. He referred to the others present as seniors and Liang Jiaxing as Daoyu. This was forcefully dragging Liang Jiaxing down by a generation. Wang Daoyuan said the question that everyone wanted to ask the most. Everyone wanted to swallow the benefits first. Later on, if they didn't put in any effort, they wouldn't be afraid that the Liang family wouldn't give them benefits. Everyone was waiting. If the Liang family didn't give them the benefits, everyone would play dumb. After all, it wasn't their own family that was being beaten. They wouldn't be in a hurry to fight again after 8 or 10 years. Liang Jiaxing said helplessly, "The promise from before will be fulfilled before we depart." Everyone's face lit up. Wang Daoyuan continued to ask, "Since the Netherworld sect didn't enlist us to attack the red-beard bandits this time, who will pay the compensation if there are casualties?" Everyone didn't expect this to happen. Their interest was piqued as they looked at Liang Jiaxing. Liang Jiaxing gritted his teeth as he looked at Wang Daoyuan. He said, "The attack on the red-beard bandits this time requires us to cross the Wild Goose Mountain. We can't bring Qi refinement cultivators. If there are casualties in the battle, the Liang family will pay the compensation. The injured will be compensated with 1,000 to 3,000 spirit stones, and the dead will be compensated with 10,000 spirit stones." Now, everyone had no objections. Next, they discussed the issue of the number of people. In the end, it was decided that each family would send at least one foundation establishment cultivator. Families with more than one foundation establishment cultivator would send at least half of them. The Wang family had already expected this. They had already decided that Wang Daoyuan and the clan leader would participate in the battle. The Meng family would send a foundation establishment cultivator. Naturally, Meng Qingshan would go. It would be best if he returned alive. Even if he died in battle, he could still receive 10,000 spirit stones from the Liang family. After that, Liang Jiaxing and Yang Yong took out the information on the red-beard bandits. In order to take down the red-beard bandits, the Netherworld sect had planted spies in several of their properties and among the red-beard bandits. The red-beard bandits also knew the principle of "a crafty rabbit has 3 burrows." They had divided many nests, but the Netherworld sect had never been able to grasp the location of all the nests. 7 years ago, the red-beard bandits had taken out the elites from all the nests. The commotion was too great, and the Netherworld sect's spies had grasped the locations of many of the red-beard bandits' nests. The front line was tense, and they lacked manpower. The Netherworld sect also wanted to keep the peace, so they did not plan to take action. The Liang family had been jumping up and down, wanting to take action and bear the price. The Netherworld sect also did them a favor and handed over the information. The red-beard bandits had a total of 6 foundation establishment cultivators. The first master and second master, who were the red-haired brothers, were both peak foundation establishment cultivators. In addition, there were 2 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators, 1 mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator, and 1 early-stage foundation establishment cultivator. The 6 of them usually guarded different nests. After the families had finished discussing the action plan, there was no need for Yang Yong to continue being present. He found an excuse and left the meeting place. Yang Yong left, but the others did not. They were all waiting to discuss with the Liang family about taking over the properties. In the end, the Liang family and the other families completed the handover of the properties within 3 days. 3 days later, they officially set off. After the meeting was adjourned, the patriarch returned to the mountain to arrange the handover of the Grade 2 cinnabar ore. Wang Daoyuan was at the clear glass market, waiting to depart. He also went to the Divine Weapon Pavilion and bought a low-grade Grade 2 magic longsword, flat wave sword. This time, he went out to work but did not put in any effort. Wielding the shocking wind sword was too conspicuous, and it would also expose the fact that he cultivated a multi-attribute cultivation technique. This flat wave sword was made by Zhao Liang. Zhao Liang was already a low-grade Grade 2 weapon forger, but he had not yet reached foundation establishment. 3 days later, the patriarch finished arranging the handover of the cinnabar ore and also hurried to the clear glass market. The foundation establishment cultivators of the various families all arrived one after another. The clear glass market needed a Zifu disciple to oversee it. Otherwise, the people of Green Willow Province would find an opportunity to destroy the market. Yang Yong could not leave, so the leader of this operation became the patriarch of the Yang family, Yang Ziyuan. Under Yang Ziyuan's lead, the 30 or so foundation establishment cultivators left the clear glass market on their swords and headed towards the northwest. Chapter 157. According to the information obtained by the Underworld sect, the Redbeard Bandits' largest lair was located in a small valley 2,000 kilometers northwest of Gold Goose City. The valley was shaped like a gourd. It was wide at both ends and narrow in the middle, hence its name. The Gourd Valley was 2,000 kilometers away from the southern foot of Mount Huiyan and 700 to 800 kilometers away from the northern foot of Mount Huiyan. The Redbeard Bandits usually pillaged the northern foot of the mountain. The 30 or so cultivators that exterminated the Redbeard Bandits had to travel 8,000 kilometers from Clear Glass Market to reach the Gourd Valley. Although there were many Redbeard Bandits' lairs, they weren't interested in attacking them one by one. Instead, they went straight for the Gourd Valley. The core members of the Redbeard Bandits were the first master and second master. The two of them were in the Gourd Valley. According to the plan, the Liang clan and their close clans would send a total of 8 foundation establishment cultivators to attack the Gourd Valley. The other 20 or so foundation establishment cultivators would lie in ambush around the Gourd Valley. If they could attract the Redbeard Bandits from the other lairs, they would eliminate them all. If the Redbeard Bandits from the other lairs didn't come, they would go all out to kill the first and second masters. The two brothers were both at the peak of foundation establishment and possessed exceptional talent. Who knew when they'd open the Violet Palace? If the two madmen opened the Violet Palace, the entire northern border would never have peace. As long as the 2 core members of the Redbeard Bandits were killed, the other 4 foundation establishment cultivators wouldn't be able to cause much trouble even if they used the name of the Redbeard Bandits. The Gourd Valley was 8,000 kilometers away from Clear Glass Market. 4 foundation establishment cultivators, this wasn't considered far. Among the 30 or so foundation establishment cultivators, Wang Daoyuan's cultivation was the lowest. Furthermore, in order to conceal his strength, he used his spiritual sense to suppress the fluctuations of the other 4 elements. He behaved like an ordinary cultivator with the water element. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see anything unusual. The other foundation establishment cultivators took good care of him. In order to prevent him from falling behind, the entire group traveled at a speed of 500 kilometers per hour. Wang Daoyuan naturally wasn't in a hurry. Since the others were taking care of him, the slower they flew, the better. It would be best if the Redbeard Bandits had enough time to retreat and hide again. The Liang clan had already paid the price. Even if they returned without success, the Liang clan, they wouldn't be able to get their properties back. 16 hours later, they were only 200 to 300 miles away from the Gourd Cave. Everyone was divided into 3 groups. The 8 foundation establishment cultivators from the Liang clan and the clans close to them temporarily waited in place. The head of the Yang clan, Yang Ziyuan, led his clans, including the Wang clan and the Meng clan, and more than 10 cultivators to surround the Gourd Cave from the west. The 10 foundation establishment cultivators of the Netherworld sect circled around from the east side of the Gourd Cave. After the cultivators from the east and west were in position, Liang Jiaxing led the 8 foundation establishment cultivators into action. They flew directly above the Gourd Cave. At this time, the Redbeard Bandits in the Gourd Cave were not on guard at all. They were still eating, drinking, and playing in the valley. 8 foundation establishment cultivators cast spells in the air, attacking the Qi refinement Redbearded Bandits in the valley. These ordinary red-beard bandits usually followed their leader to plunder houses or fight battles that went smoothly. How could they possibly contend against a foundation-building cultivator? A few large-scale destructive spells were thrown at them, and the group of people were like headless flies, fleeing in all directions. Not long after, a defensive light barrier lit up in the valley. This defensive light barrier was not weak. Liang Jiaxing, a late Foundation establishment cultivator, cast a rank 2 spell, but the light barrier only flickered slightly. The strength of this defensive light barrier was definitely not something a rank 2 spell formation could have. It seemed that the Red-Beard bandits had put in a lot of effort to set up a rank 3 defensive spell formation here. Liang Jiaxing saw that he could not break the spell formation in a short period of time and shouted, "They say that the Red-Beard bandits are unstoppable in the north and south of Huiyan Mountain. Today, it seems that this is all there is to it. In the past, you Red-Beard bandits relied on your numbers to ambush my Liang clan's property. My Liang clan cultivators still dared to come out and fight. Today, I've come to take revenge, but you don't even dare to show your heads in your lair." Huang Wanzhong also mocked, "Red-Beard brat, do you only know how to be a coward?" The Red-Beard bandits could not take this provocation. After a few breaths, 2 burly men with red beards and red hair flew out of the valley on their swords. The one in the lead said angrily, "You scoundrels of the Liang clan only know how to bully with numbers. Last time, you relied on the underworld sect and a few other clans' Foundation establishment cultivators to besiege us brothers, but you still couldn't do anything to us. Today, you scoundrels want to take down the Gourd Valley with just you?" The 8 people led by the Liang clan saw the Red-Beard brothers come out and did not waste words. They directly threw a few spells at them. The Red-Beard brothers' cultivation was higher than the 8 people of the Liang clan. Their reactions were also faster and they dodged the attacks with their swords. Afterwards, they each condensed a ball of fire the size of a millstone and threw it at the 8 people. These fireballs were not ordinary flames. Although they could not be counted as spiritual fire, they were still extraordinary. The 8 people did not dare to take them head-on and could only dodge the fireballs. The 8 people of the Liang clan did not have enough cultivation and did not have the heart to fight to the death. 8 against 2, they were actually evenly matched. The Wang clan and the others were hiding more than 20 miles away from the cliffs on both sides of the Gourd Valley. At this distance, a Foundation establishment cultivator's spiritual sense would not be able to detect them. As long as there was something to hide them, they would not be discovered. The Red-Beard brothers seemed to have cultivated a type of joint attack spell. When the 2 of them worked together, their power was multiplied by several times. The 8 people did not dare to face them directly. They could only rely on each other to restrain them and barely contend with them. The 2 groups were unable to determine a winner and the battle continued for 8 hours. At this moment, the Yang clan leader transmitted a voice message to the people lying in ambush, "Someone is coming from behind. Hide in the earth." These Foundation establishment cultivators were all experienced. Those who did not know the Earth Escape spell had Earth Escape talismans on them. Once they heard that they were hiding in the earth, they quickly escaped more than 30 meters deep. At this depth, a normal Foundation establishment cultivator's spiritual sense would not be able to detect them. After a few minutes, 4 Foundation establishment cultivators flew over them on their swords. In half a cup of tea's time, more than 300 Qi refinement Red-Beard bandits entered the Gourd Valley from the small paths on the north and south sides. Wang Daoyuan could not believe it. The infamous Red-Beard bandits, who had rampaged in the Huiyan Mountain area for more than 100 years, were surrounded just like that? They were surrounded in an instant. The goal this time was to kill the Foundation establishment Red-Beard bandits. The group did not pay attention to these Qi refinement cultivators. Now that they were here, they could kill them all in one fell swoop. Above the Gourd Valley, 4 Foundation establishment cultivators joined the battle. The situation became 6 against 8. The 8 people of the Liang clan immediately became strained. Liang Jiaxing shouted, "Everyone, Dao Yu, it's time to make a move." Yang Ziyuan took the lead and rushed out with 2 Foundation establishment cultivators of the Yang clan. Wang Daoyuan wanted to continue watching the show, but since the Yang clan had made a move, he could only follow. The underworld sect's foundation establishment cultivators lying in ambush on the east side of the Gourd Valley also jumped out immediately. More than 20 people flew into the sky on their swords and surrounded the 6 Redbeard bandits. The 6 Redbeard bandits did not linger and directly flew down on their swords. They did not leave the defensive light barrier. Now that they suddenly fled, no one could stop them in time. They successfully fell into the formation's light barrier. After the 6 of them landed, the Great Master laughed arrogantly. If not for the fact that I was worried that you would not be able to take down the Gourd Valley and cause trouble for the other brothers, I wouldn't have bothered with you. I didn't think that you scoundrels would still be so immature. You let my brothers enter the Gourd Valley just like that. In this Gourd Valley, not to mention you foundation establishment cultivators, even if that old man Liang came personally, what could he do to me? So these 2 brothers had wasted so much time here just to put on an act. They had more than 30 foundation establishment cultivators on their side, and they really thought that these 2 brothers were boorish men. In the end, they had all been played. Sure enough, those who could survive in the immortal cultivation world were not fools. If they wanted to kill the Redbeard bandits now, they would have to first take down this Tier 3 defensive formation. Chapter 158. The Liang clan's plan to defeat the Redbeard bandits and trap the other clans wasn't something that could be thought of in a day or two. It must have been carefully planned. It was normal for the Redbeard bandits' lair to have a formation, so the Liang clan naturally made preparations. Although the Liang clan didn't have a formation master, the Liang clan's ancestor had specially transferred a 3rd-level formation master from the Netherworld sect to participate in this attack. An 8th-level foundation establishment cultivator walked out from the Netherworld sect's 10 foundation establishment cultivators. Liang Jiaxing cupped his hands towards him. Wu Dao, I'll have to trouble you with this formation. The cultivator surnamed Wu smiled. I wouldn't dare. I've come on Elder Liang's orders to help, so I'll naturally do my best. The cultivator surnamed Wu took out a bowl-sized black 8 trigrams disc. Under the stimulation of spiritual energy, the disc's surface flickered with light. Wang Daoyuan hadn't started studying formations yet, so he didn't understand what the light on the disc meant. However, he had pried into Qiyun's memories, so he had some general knowledge of formations. This 8 trigrams disc was called a formation measuring disc. Under the stimulation of spiritual energy, it could sense the position of the formation's eye and the flow of spiritual energy. Generally, formations used the eye of the formation to provide spiritual energy for the formation to function. Spiritual energy flowed in a certain path between the formation eyes. As long as one could break the formation's eye or block the path of spiritual energy, the formation could be broken. However, the person who set up the formation would do everything possible to hide the formation's eye, making it very difficult for the person who broke the formation to find it. At this time, one could only rely on the formation measuring disc. However, it was impossible to find the formation's eye in a defensive formation like this one. This was because the formation's eye was hidden inside the defensive light barrier, so it couldn't be broken even if it was found. The reason the cultivator surnamed Wu took out the formation measuring disc was because he wanted to measure the direction of spiritual energy flow and use it to deduce the weak points of the defensive light barrier. There was no perfect formation in the world, and every formation had its weak points. For example, the defensive formation in front of them was a 3rd-level formation. If one were to forcefully attack it, even a mid-Zifu disciple would have to fight for several days. If an early Zifu disciple didn't have any special methods, they wouldn't be able to break it. However, if one were to find the formation's weak point, even a foundation establishment cultivator would be able to break the formation in a short period of time. At this time, there were over 30 foundation establishment cultivators. Once they found a weak point in the formation, they would be able to break it open with the simultaneous attacks of over 30 people. The cultivator surnamed Wu took the formation testing disc and spent more than 4 hours circling the entire valley, but he still couldn't find any weak points. Unable to maintain his composure, he shouted, "This formation is quite clever. It hides the circulation of spiritual energy very well. I can't find a weak point right away. Daoyu, please help me attack the defensive light barrier. When the formation is operating rapidly, it's easier to expose its weak points." When the red-beard bandits in the valley heard this, they laughed wantonly. The great master shouted, "Brothers, there's a formation master here who wants to break our formation. Let's cheer for them." After saying that, the several hundred red-beard pirates roared with laughter, and the sound of drums really resounded in the gourd valley. However, the sound of the drum was not very powerful and had no effect on Foundation establishment cultivators, so no one took it to heart. The people outside the formation controlled their flying swords to attack the defensive light shield. Wang Daoyuan infused spiritual energy into the flat wave sword. The sword gave off a blue glow, floating in front of him. He pointed his finger and the flat wave sword quickly flew in the direction he pointed. Half a breath later, the flying sword hit the light shield. The defensive light shield did not give them any face, not even a ripple. Of course, for a Foundation establishment first-layer cultivator, not being able to cause any ripples was normal. The other cultivators' attacks were much stronger. Every time they attacked, they caused a ripple. More than 30 Foundation establishment cultivators, many a little makes an ocean. The defensive light shield was hit until it trembled. The cultivator surnamed Wu's face finally showed joy, saying, "Daoyu, increase the power, don't stop. I already have some ideas. Give me another 4 hours, I'll definitely find a weak point." Everyone increased the output of spiritual energy, controlling their flying swords to attack the defensive light shield. The sword control technique was quite powerful, but it consumed the least amount of spiritual energy among all the Foundation establishment cultivators' attacks. Attacking with the sword control technique for 4 hours would consume a lot of spiritual energy, but everyone could handle it. Moreover, they could rest midway to recover their spiritual energy. Attacking for 4 hours wasn't a big problem. However, in order to hide his strength, Wang Daoyuan drank scarlet blood wine several times midway to recover his spiritual energy. For hours later, the cultivator surnamed Wu's face was full of joy, saying, "I found a weak point in the defensive light shield. However, this weak point is constantly moving. I've already locked onto it with a formation measuring disc. All Dao, come over and follow the place I'm pointing. When I call for action, attack together. Don't miss the timing." Everyone flew to where he was on their flying swords, each finding a convenient place to attack. The cultivator surnamed Wu pointed at a spot on the light shield. 10 breaths later, he shouted, "Attack!" More than 30 flying swords attacked a spot the size of a wash basin at the same time. The light shield did not even flicker before it shattered. The cultivators of the Liang family laughed wantonly, as if they had already seen the red-beard bandits being killed. As for the red-beard bandits in the valley, they did not panic in the slightest when they saw the formation being broken. A few Foundation establishment cultivators even looked up to the sky and laughed. The first master waved his hand, and the chi condensation cultivators hid in the caves on both sides of the valley. From beginning to end, the beating of drums in the valley had never stopped. Everyone outside the valley had a puzzled expression. Why was the red-beard bandits even happier than they were after the defensive formation was broken? Was there something wrong with their heads? Wang Daoyuan felt that something was amiss. He transmitted his voice to the clan head. The red-beard bandits should still have a backup plan. This formation was only used to stall for time. We might have already fallen into their trap. Once there's a change, just run. Don't worry about me. If the red-beard bandits make a move, they'll target the Liang family. They won't waste the effort to chase after me. In any case, I'm not recruited by the Netherworld sect. It won't matter even if I run. I have some talismans here. Take them. When you run, you might be able to use them. Finished speaking, he secretly passed a storage pouch to the clan head. The clan head accepted the storage pouch without batting an eyelid and put it into his clothes. At this moment, in the valley, the first and second masters of the red-beard bandits each took out a horn and blew it. The horn sound was extremely loud and ear-piercing. It seemed to have the effect of attacking one's soul, causing one's head to ache slightly. Although the Liang family cultivators did not dare to fly down directly, they would not just stand by and watch. Liang Jiaxing held a handful of seeds in his hand. He circulated his spirit energy and enveloped the seeds. After the seeds landed on the ground, they grew rapidly. Hundreds of vines spread throughout the valley, attacking anyone they saw. A foundation establishment cultivator among the red-beard bandits snorted coldly. The Liang family claimed that they didn't ambush our brothers. Back then, the person who killed our brothers used this move. Even though they had to avoid the attacks of the vines, the red-beard bandits' horn sound did not stop. Not long after, Wang Daoyuan felt a slight tremor from the ground. He scanned the surroundings with his spiritual sense but did not discover anything wrong. After 20 breaths, the tremor became even more intense. There were even low roars of beasts and the cries of demonic birds in the sky. So, the red-beard bandits had been beating the drums and blowing the horns for so long to summon demonic beasts. He did not expect the red-beard bandits to have such an ability. The spies of the Netherworld sect were practically useless. They could not even find out the enemy's strongest move, and they had the cheek to call themselves spies. Initially, they thought that the red-beard bandits' backup was in the gourd cave and that they could escape directly. However, now that the demonic beasts were surrounding them from all sides, whoever ran first would be surrounded and attacked. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.